Welcome back to On Texas Football's Tuesday Night Longhorn live stream presented by Andy Ludicky. I'm your host, Amanda Atwell, joined by Jeff Howe and CJ Vogel. Y'all make sure to pop any questions you have in the chat. We're going to start it off first by thanking our friends over at myperfectfranchise.net. Are you looking to diversify or new ways to make money? Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net can help you do just that by finding businesses that will fit your time allotment and financial goals. Call him or email him to learn more. He's got a really cool process that identifies a perfect fit for you. Email him now at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. So getting started, we have some exciting stuff. College football playoff announcement of the teams that are in the first ranking for the college football playoff. Do we have any results yet? I currently don't have ESPN, so
we got 25 through 21 unveiled, going in order from 25 to 21. Tennessee, Pitt, Washington, Missouri, and Michigan. Michigan a little bit lower than I thought. CJ, I wonder if Missouri is getting dinged for quarterback issues.
I would assume so. They're not a bad football team, but the committee obviously does care if you have a functional quarterback going back to Florida State, and right now Missouri certainly does not.
No. It's funny because Iowa's at 20, and that's kind of what Missouri is as they are right now. Great defense. I just don't know how they're going to score points.
No.
Yeah, and I will say on the note with the Missouri, that did look like a much worse injury than it was, but he's apparently supposed to be able to come back later this season. But of course, that doesn't really help you out when you play A&M this week.
No, you can stick a fork in Missouri. I'm not
sure I understand.
Oops.
Oh.
My watch is not sure I understand.
If you don't understand, I'll say it again. You can stick a fork right into Missouri because they're toast.
So Iowa at 20, USC at 19. So, it looks like, I don't think this is a surprise, Texas is elevated in terms of the two lost teams. Miami at number 18. I think that probably tells you they're cooked for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
I do want to go back a little bit. Pitt's at 24. And why is that significant? Well, if you're Texas, if you split Georgia, if you split Texas A&M, one of those games you end up falling, you're going to need a lot of help to get in as a 3-loss team. Pitt at number 24, that tells you a little bit there. They're a good football team, right? If you've watched them this year, they've got a talented defense. They've got some guys on the outside. Texas fans need Pitt to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs to fall again. And I get maybe this weekend, Pitt is the best chance outsiders have for Notre Dame to take their third loss.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the committee right now doesn't value the ACC because Georgia Tech, a one-loss Georgia Tech coming in at 17, and then Vanderbilt at 16. So as we get in the top 15, I'm thinking that's probably decent news for Texas. Yeah, Louisville at 15, so Texas is in the top 14. So on the cusp of in the top 12 right now.
Where do y'all, as far as these rankings go, where do you have Texas as far as where they land here?
Probably 12. I mean, you can point to the big wins. You can point to the close wins. I mean, there's still – I don't think for any reason they should be a lock into the playoff, nor do I think it really matters. If you don't defeat Georgia – everything about this playoff right now does not matter. So we're coming in on 12 and 11 right now. Louisville, number 15, Virginia, 14, Utah, number 13. Number 12 is coming up right now. We'll see where that ends up, Jeff, but let me get your thoughts.
It's interesting that Notre Dame's schedule is dominated by ACC teams, yet we're seeing pretty much that the committee doesn't really think all that much of the ACC.
Yeah, the ACC is bad this year. Texas needs a one-bid ACC, and they need at most a two-bid Big 12. You would prefer that to be one. In all actuality, you would prefer BYU, I believe, who is still undefeated, to beat Texas Tech. And there you have it, actually. Oklahoma comes in at 12. Texas still not yet on the board. So Texas will be ahead of Oklahoma, as many expected. I know the AP poll had some folks up in arms right now, and Texas comes in ranked number 11 in the initial college football playoff. That is one spot ahead of Oklahoma, and that would be firmly right against the barrier there. Can't have any bid stealers in terms of college basketball, conference champions not being the number one seed coming into the conference tournaments. Can't have any bid stealers. And right now, Texas is backed up against the wall right now when it comes to the initial playoffs.
Yeah, and do you think I think that's a pretty fair ranking, especially with all the conversation about should Texas be ranked above Oklahoma or not? I mean, you have the head-to-head, but a lot of people were pointing to the loss to Florida as the reason that OU should be ranked higher. I don't know. I personally put a head-to-head higher than a loss because, I mean, the Texas looks entirely different, or they looked entirely different against Vanderbilt than they did during that Florida game. So if that consistency can continue, then I think the Florida game comes in as a bit more moot point.
And I completely agree. And as we have it, Notre Dame comes in at 10. So when you talk about having some space, a buffer there, Texas fans and Texas in general, they need Notre Dame to fall. That needs to be a team to fall out of the playoff conversation. And again, looking at their remaining, 4 games, it's going to be difficult unless it's Pitt for that to happen.
And I will say BYU and Tech should both be above Texas in this ranking, and they play this weekend, so that the result of that game could also help out Texas.
Yeah. Amanda, where would you have Texas? Do you like where Texas is sitting right now at 11? Or
I think it's fair. I wouldn't put OU above them. I could see them at 12 as well with somebody else above them. I don't know. I think George is going to tell us a lot about whether or not it's a playoff team. Because, I mean, you haven't really seen the performance on the road that you want to see from a team that deserves to be in the playoffs thus far. I mean, you get the wins at Mississippi State and Kentucky, but those aren't wins that you feel necessarily great about. You lose to Florida on the road. You lose to Ohio State on the road. I think they just really need to prove it on the road, and then I'd be more comfortable with putting them up a little higher.
Interesting. Oregon at 9. So it looks like you're going to have both Big 12 teams in the top 8.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for these, do you want to tell us about our friends over at Duck Camp real quick, Jeff?
Yeah, sure can. Duck Camp makes gear for folks who live for being out there, whether that's in the duck blind at sunrise or on the 40 acres. For Saturday kickoff. Born right here in Austin, Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. From those sun protection shirts to keep you cool during the early season scorchers to their iconic game series hats that feel like instant classics, Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Get out there, stay out there, and hook them. Shop Duck Camp at duckcamp.com and on Texas Football Family. Use the promo code ONTexas25. That's ONTexas25 and get 25% off of your order.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Y'all make sure to get any questions if you have them. We'll chat a little bit more as these continue to come out. Do we have any more? I can't see these right now because I do not have ESPN currently.
Yeah, some big ones here in the Big 12. This is where I'm talking about for Texas. They need teams to fall and get some work in front of them. BYU undefeated right now, 8-0. They come in at number 7. Texas Tech 8-1. They're at number 8. They play each other this weekend. So in theory, Texas on a bye probably moves up a spot in the next college football playoff based off of this game alone. Now, will that happen? We'll wait and see. For Texas, I think you are in a better position if BYU runs the table, wins the conference, and then you start looking at your next Big 12 option for the college football playoff, having as many losses as possible. I think that's the preferable stance that you take here. Ole Miss comes in at 6, Georgia now at 5. Of course, Texas goes to Athens in 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you've got, I think, kind of the worst case scenario for whether it's Texas or whoever that extra SEC team is, if you've got, let's say, BYU and Texas Tech in theory, let's say Tech wins on Saturday and they rematch in the Big 12 championship game and BYU wins, to have 2 12-1 Big 12 teams that have beaten each other, that's going to be a little difficult. It's going to be a little rough to figure out who gets in over who.
Yeah, we're in a span right now of 4 consecutive SEC schools as well. A&M comes in at 3, then Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6. So, look, it's going to be 2 Big Tens up at the top. Indiana comes in at number 2, and, of course, Ohio State. Yep. To no surprise, I don't know why so many folks thought that Ohio State wouldn't be the number 1 team in the country, but right now They are your number one team. Again, it goes Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss to round out the top 6. Texas ahead of Oklahoma as well, but still some movement. You'd like to see Notre Dame fall, and of course, you'd like to see a one-bid ACC and a one-bid Big 12. That big game in between BYU and Texas Tech this weekend. It looms very large for what's ahead in the college football playoff picture.
And I know you're not very high on A&M, CJ, but there's been a lot of conversation about should A&M be ranked higher to, I mean, potentially above Ohio State just because of schedule purposes of people saying how weak Ohio State's schedule is and their best wins being Texas. What are your thoughts there?
No, I mean, look at Texas A&M
schedule too.
I mean, what's the strength of schedule? I understand it in theory, it looks great. On paper, it looks great. Whatever. You go watch the teams that they've played. They're not good. There shouldn't be an argument for anybody really right now, in my opinion, over Ohio State. I feel like they have the best team. I feel like they have the best defense. They have the most dynamic wide receivers. That is the best team in college football right now, and I would reckon it's not entirely close. I do think Indiana's the clear number 2, and the big reason for that is, again, point to the schedule. I understand it, but they've beat teams by 50 that should not be beaten by 50. And this was the argument last year for Indiana as well, and why it was so easy for me to say that they were deserving of college football playoff position. You walk into Lincoln, Nebraska and walk out with a 50-point victory. It's very easy for me to say that you're one of the 12 best teams in the country. And when you do that repeatedly, look, that's who you are. And they don't skate by in Starkville. They don't skate by in Lexington, and they don't fall to bad teams, right? There are plenty of teams right now in this top 12, in this top 25 that don't take care of business at the level that Ohio State and Texas A&M have. And that's why I think right now, without doubt, that they're the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country at the moment.
I would disagree. CJ, as impressive as Ohio State is, and like we know their personnel, if you're asking me like, hey, when I've watched games, who do I think is the best team in college football right now? I haven't seen anybody look more complete on a consistent basis than Indiana. That might sound blasphemous to some people. Sure. And that's not a knock on Ohio State. That's me saying I've been really freaking impressed with Indiana.
Yeah. No, I won't hear any qualms out of me for that. You know, again, they take care of business better than anybody else in the country when it comes to beating the teams that they should by the margin in which they should. They had a scare against Iowa on the road. That's a tough place to play. That is a tough environment, a tough team, a tough program, but they got through it, right? That was a tough game there. The big thing for Ohio State is I think, you know, I hate to just point to Vegas and covers and stuff like that, but I think they've covered the spread in just about every week. I think Texas Tech, very similarly, obviously when they have a healthy quarterback, is a very good team. And that's why I'm so intrigued by this upcoming game with BYU and Texas Tech. Again, for Texas, it would be great if BYU won this game. For Texas fans in particular, I'm sure they're sitting there saying, hell yeah, get Texas Tech another loss. But in the big picture of this college football playoff, one team in the Big 12 to skate through, run the table, and be their representative, I think would be fantastic, and then build up all of the losses for the remaining options. That is the best opportunity should Texas fall in Athens against Arkansas or against Texas A&M.
Can I bring up one point on Texas Tech real quick?
Yeah.
If Tech has 2 losses, let's say they either lose to BYU on Saturday or they lose in a Big 12 championship game, do you look at their loss against an Arizona State team that's clearly trending down without Sam Leavitt? Do you look at if Arizona State's like a 7-5 team and ding Texas Tech for that? Or do you look at it and say, well, that was a different Arizona State team. That was an Arizona State team that had Sam Leavitt that beat Tech. Like, how do you break down Tech's loss? I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I mean, that is something that I think the committee's got to consider.
Yeah, and it's definitely fair, right? You know, that's your heartbeat of the team. That is your quarterback. I think you do look at it differently, and it's almost the complete inverse of what we were talking about with Missouri and Florida State 2 years ago, right? The committee looking at a team that didn't or doesn't have a quarterback actively going into the playoff. How does that then be kind of reviewed and seen by the committee for games in which you didn't have a starting quarterback? And now we're going to welcome in our good friend, Jerry Hamilton. And folks, stick around. We got a big game coming up here in a bit. Texas and Duke tipping off for the Sean Miller era. But Jerry, the playoff is released. Texas now number 11, Give me your thoughts.
Jumping in on Jeff's question on Texas Tech, what'll be interesting there, if BYU wins at Tech, and I'm not saying they are, then Tech has to – both of them hold the tiebreak over Utah. That's the one thing. They both hold the tiebreak over Utah. So Texas Tech has UCF and West Virginia after, which they'll win those games. Then they get another crack at BYU in the Big 12 championship game. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if the Big 12 or ACC gets 2 teams in. I think there's 3 scenarios in the CFP I'm watching for. Does Notre Dame win it at Pitt? And Pitt's a decent team, 7-2. What were they, 24 in the rankings? And Pitt's actually going to – and Greg McElroy said it, they're going to factor in. Pitt's last 3 games are really tough. They have Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, Notre Dame at home. Actually, it's Notre Dame at home, at Georgia Tech, and then Miami in Pittsburgh. So Pitt's going to factor in the college football playoffs. Not that they're going to be in it, but they're going to factor in who does make it. That's one scenario. If Notre Dame takes a loss, then a 3-loss SEC team is going to get in the playoffs, in my opinion. The other way a 3-loss SEC team would get in the playoff is if either the ACC or Big 12 only got 1 team in.
Yeah,
I think that Georgia Tech loss, and it was reflective in the rankings, that was a body blow to the ACC because you can't lose at NC State and give up 50 points. That was a body blow for the ACC the same day that Carson Beck did Carson Beck things. By the way, I'll say it again. The guy's got 21 interceptions his last 18 games. He's making $5 million. So sure, make any of this make sense. It's not like he hadn't been an interception machine before it.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all?
There's 2 things, Jerry, I think to consider with this as far as it relates to Texas, and it's does the ACC or the Big 12, can they get an extra team in? I think one, that game at the end of the regular season, that Georgia Tech game is infinitely bigger probably than it's been in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how if BYU runs the table in the regular season and they lose a rematch to Tech in the Big 12 championship game, I don't know how you keep out a 12-1 BYU whose one loss would be to a team they beat in the regular season.
Yeah.
So that's if you're looking at it from the outside, and how can Texas get in if they need help, was something CJ mentioned earlier. You want as much chaos as possible in the ACC. And you want that second Big 12 team ideally to have 2 losses. Because I think if it comes down to a 2-loss Big 12 team or a 3-loss SEC team, I think the 3-loss SEC team might have a really good chance of getting it.
It's definitely potential there. By the way, one of my buddies is in Charlotte at the Texas-Duke game. You want to hear one? Not only will Duke have like 16,000 more people in the stands, apparently the shot clock on Texas into the court hadn't been working. So they've been working on that for the last 10 to 15 minutes. So Texas isn't warming up while Duke is.
Interesting.
Wonderful.
Yeah. You only have all off season. You play a couple NBA, shot clock. I'm sure it's a coincidence, but what are we to not believe anything nowadays?
I mean, at Duke, you would think something like that would work pretty well.
Yeah, you think. The Spectrum Center, they've only been getting ready for the game for 3 days.
Yeah. Well, technology, it can sometimes be technology, but we got a super chat from Taylor Johnson here, switching gears a little bit. The penalties were suspect in the 4th when non-Texas shows, multiple ones that are questioning what that was. So I guess we're talking about the penalties in the 4th quarter, which obviously even other fan bases thought were a little bit questionable.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not, right? There were a few, and there were some, I thought the holding call, specifically, I hate sitting here complaining about refs, but, after that 4th quarter, second half, it's hard not to say that it played a bit of a factor in the outcome of that game, or at least how close it got towards the end. But there were a few plays where I thought Colin Simmons was spun around, held backwards, forwards, upside down, no calls. And then Texas 1st and 10 going into Vanderbilt's side of the field on about the 30-yard line or so. There was a phantom holding call on Spencer Shannon that backed him up to 1st and 20. Texas settles for a field goal, and it was a play that gained about 5 yards towards the left end. You're sitting at 2nd and 5 going into about the 25-yard line. Instead, you're backed up. Texas ends up, again, with a field goal attempt out of this drive, but that was a a moment in time in which the Texas offense had been rolling, and they had been staying ahead of the chains as well as they had the entire season, be backed up into 1st and 20. That to me was a penalty that I looked at saying, oh, okay, this is how the game's going to be called. Now let's see if they're able to get back off of it and move forward. And to Sarkisian's point on Monday, he felt like he didn't do a great job of it, and Texas themselves did not do a great job of playing beyond the whistles and playing freely as a result. So I think that's a good lesson going into the bye week, and of course going into 2 big games against Georgia and Texas A&M at the end.
I think my biggest one was the touchdown pass to Emmett Mosley in the end zone, and just that missed that. I feel like that was kind of a turning point there, because if that had been called correctly, you get another try at the end zone there, and I mean, they get another try at the end zone, they score again, that game's over. It's over. Yep. You kind of kill Vanderbilt's spirit there, and it's done. So I think that was the biggest one for me. A lot of people like to talk about the 2-point conversion, but I think that was just kind of the turning point. And there's just, I don't know. I don't like complaining about the refs either. If you got to score enough to make the refs not matter, but this is one where I think in that 4th quarter, they did way too much. It was a ref show. They made it matter. They kind of changed the game. Unfortunately, they didn't change the result of the game, but it very well could have.
And the other thing with that non-PI call is how much more time Texas could have ran off the clock.
That's my thing, Jerry. Yep. Yeah.
To your point, Amanda, Texas probably scores in that scenario, but they also probably run a minute and a half off the clock doing it. So that was a big non-call at the point in the game where that was.
No doubt. But it's the officiating in the SEC period has just been, I mean, it's been atrocious this year. I mean, I watched Georgia, Florida, and if I'm a Florida fan, I've got to feel like there were 2 calls in that game that cost you the game. Arkansas gets flagged for 19 penalties in their game against Mississippi State.
Yeah, a record, I think.
Man, I'm not going to shed a tear for Bobby Petrino, but man, there's a lot of games where you don't have both teams combined for 19 penalties. 19 penalties is pretty freaking egregious.
Yeah. That's like a high school running back line, like 18 for 195 and 3 touchdowns. That's penalties. Okay.
I mean, how do you combat that? What do you do about it? You can submit complaints all day. I mean, one SEC ref was taken off duty, but at the end of the day, what do you do about it?
Yeah.
I saw Jonathan Gray have some first halves like that back in the day, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody's saying SH Longhorn, the playoff rankings mean spit or whatever. I think they're meaningful, though. I'll say this, and I'm not totally disagreeing with you because it's going to play out. The whole thing will play out. But you'd much rather be starting at 11 than a 2-loss at 16 or 17.
Behind other 2-loss teams.
They got the rankings right, and that Texas, they're doing the opposite of what the pollsters are doing. They're ahead of Oklahoma. They beat them head to head. So I do think there's some very real positives for Texas in that, because you are now set up to, if you handle your business, you're in. It's not like you're going to get jumped from there if you handle your business. And I'm not saying even you have to win all 3 necessarily. Obviously, if you lose a game, you fall, but other people are going to lose too. But I'd much rather be 11 than where Georgia Tech is sitting with 1 loss right now.
Yeah, having to climb from the back. That's not a good spot to be. I did want to make a point because I think this is interesting, right? The best G5 team gets that automatic spot. And it's typically that 12th spot. Last year we saw it with Boise State. There's not a G5 team in the top 25 of the ranking. You see Memphis is that spot right now, right in the 12th seed. They don't have a number by their name in the top 25. They're an unranked team. I think that's really interesting. When we talk about the automatic qualifiers, and of course, this is the year in which the 4 conference winners or the 5 conference winners aren't allotted the top 4 seeds. That's going to be a loud conversation if we see this progress into a point where a Memphis, a Tulane, whoever is in that spot there at the end, if they remain unranked, boy, can you imagine how loud that conversation will be by a team that's ranked 10, 11, 12, 13th, vying for that final position.
What happens if all those teams kind of beat each other up in that conference and San Diego State finishes 11-1 on a 10-game win streak? I'm throwing it out there because nobody talks about San Diego State right now. They're sitting there at 7-1, and they have Boise they have Hawaii at Hawaii, but then they have Boise, San Jose State, and New Mexico State. Well, all the others beat each other up in the AAC. If San Diego State rolls through at 11-1, are they going to backdoor the G5 spot?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Got a quick question from Paul here. Can someone explain to me, like I'm 5, how 2-loss Notre Dame is ahead of 2-loss Texas? Notre Dame has one good win.
I think part of it is something that was referenced. I think Bobby Petronic said it this morning on Coffee and Football. Texas has a loss at Florida, who fired their coach and record-wise isn't a strong team. The same Florida that lost at Miami. So it may come down to the loss. I mean, Notre Dame lost at Miami. Obviously, that's the first game of the year. That was a raucous environment. Then they lost at home to A&M, which I hear the argument. I'm just saying the other side, I think, is the one thing that probably hurts Texas is the Florida loss. But because Florida fired their coach and has taken on water this year, despite having talent.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Joey Austin here says 5 SEC teams in the playoff. Right now, there's, I think, 6 in the rankings total.
Yeah. The only way the Big 12, I think, will get in 5 in is if Notre Dame loses a game. If Notre Dame loses at Pitt at the end of the day. If either the Big 12 or ACC gets 2 in, let's just say the SEC has 4 and the Big 10 has 3 for sure. You're at 7. The G5 is 8. Notre Dame wins out their 9. Okay, then you have if you have 2 ACC and 1 Big 12, you're done. You're 12, or 2 Big 12 and 1 ACC, 12. You're done. I think if you're an SEC fan in general and you have a 9-3 potential team, you're really hoping Pitt upsets Notre Dame in 2 weeks to ensure, because then it opens up for a 3-loss team. If Notre Dame wins out, then you're going to be dependent on the ACC and the Big 12 only getting 1 in to open up that 12th spot.
Yeah. The thing I like potentially in this, if you just project it out, I think I've got this figured out. I think Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Oklahoma could all finish the regular season 10-2.
Yeah.
And then you just like, I mean, honestly, like A&M's got a tough stretch. Obviously, the trip to DK at the end of the regular season. I mean, is anybody in the SEC? I don't think anybody in the SEC is sitting prettier than Ole Miss right now.
I think Ole Miss and A&M are sitting really well. Ole Miss, now I'll say this about Ole Miss.
A&M sits in the prettiest spot.
A&M definitely, because Ole Miss has to go to Starkville.
Yeah, and the last stretch of A&M's schedule is, I mean, the hardest game is Texas. They get to go on the road to Mizzou and play a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They play Samford. I mean,
yeah,
it's a pretty good spot to be in. If you lose to Texas, you're still in a really good spot.
Yeah. I think, that Ole Miss going to Mississippi State, that Egg Bowl game is always interesting. Maybe they have like free yoga classes in the stands and Kiffin doesn't like pay attention or something. Maybe there's the cheerleaders are doing yoga or something and they get Kiffin's attention. But that's a tough game. That's a tough game for Ole Miss at Mississippi State because this isn't a terrible Mississippi State team.
That's a Black Friday 11 a.m. game, by the way.
Ooh.
So you're saying you'll be shopping and not watching?
I'll be I'll be looking for a Roomba or something, Jerry. I'll be walking the aisles at Target and whatnot.
I'll say this: another game that's going to be really interesting to watch this weekend. Can Iowa beat Oregon? That game is at Iowa. That's an interesting game.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not an easy place, especially. 2:30 in the afternoon this upcoming weekend. Look, Oregon's not looked maybe up to the par that they thought that they would be coming into the season. And again, flying across the country to play at Iowa, that's one that Texas fans should have an eye out on. If Iowa ends up with that win, that helps for those 10-2, 9-3 SEC teams quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon actually, look, their last 4 games aren't easy. I mean, at Iowa, Yes, Minnesota at home, USC at home, but at Washington. If I said they're 10-2, I don't at the end of the year, I don't think anybody would be surprised at that. And anytime you only score 20 at home, and I know Indiana's a really good team, but they only scored 20 points at home against Indiana. That's going to be concerning. And they had 267 yards in that game, 14 first downs at home, 3 of 14 on thirds, only ran it for 81 yards. And I know Indiana's really good. I think Indiana is as impressive as anybody right now, just on paper. But that's concerning when you go on the road. Teams at the end of the year, Iowa and Washington. If you don't play better offensively on the road, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about a 3-loss. Like if Texas has 3 losses, obviously if Texas finishes the regular season 10-2, in all likelihood, they're
100%.
Yep.
But a 9-3 Texas, I just wonder, with a win over what. Hell, I don't know. A&M's probably still a top 3 team, maybe a top 2 at that point, depending on what happens. With that win, it's interesting. We talk about the Florida loss. Does the committee do, though? And granted, Alabama won the SEC last year, the 14 playoff, but Alabama almost got rewarded for scheduling Texas in a non-conference schedule. Does the committee look at Texas and decide, hey, we're not going to punish you for scheduling Ohio State?
That's a good point. Yep. All right, we'll get to some more of your questions, but first we're going to hear from our friends over at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right, we're going to get into some more of your questions here, and stick around. We'll have a little watch party for the Texas Duke game coming up. We have a question from McBooger here. 16-team playoff next year. Anyone? I don't know if I'm about to.
I think it's trending the 2027 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's trending to that season potentially, or 2028. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think the final vote on that is in December, though.
How do y'all feel about that? How do you feel about a 16-team playoff?
He needs to get to 16 as soon as possible.
Think so?
Yeah, I really do. Look, I think I think 12. I mean, 4 buys. Look, I think the coaches might argue the buys hurt you more than help you, but I don't know. I think the week to get healthy. My argument for the buy has always been Cameron Williams doesn't get hurt last year if Texas has a buy. He got hurt against Clemson in that extra game. But I think it needs to go to 16 as soon as possible. I don't like the 12 personally. I mean, it's a good start. It got us going. But we need to get this thing to 16. Everybody has to win 4 games to win the national championship. It needs to be like the NCAA basketball tournament. There aren't buys in it. Let's just get to 16 and play this thing out.
If you don't go to 16, then you need to rethink your non-conference schedule and buy out some of those games, because
the big boy games.
Yeah, going to a 9-game SEC schedule, there's no reason for you to play Michigan, Ohio State, and Notre Dame in non-conference.
The biggest thing going with if it goes to a 16-team playoff is then your conference championship games are going away, and those are going to be pseudo play-ins. So if you don't have an SEC championship game, in theory, then what do you have? You have 2, 3, 4, and 5 playing almost to play-in games for the playoffs or for seeding. They got to make their money up somehow is what I'm saying.
Conference championship games feel like they're on the way out anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of them now?
Yeah.
You make the playoff. Your goal isn't, obviously to win a conference. It is, but if you make the playoff, you're one of the best teams in the country. Your sights are on winning a national championship.
Yeah.
And that extra game, to your point, Jerry, who knows who you might lose in a game like that when your sights are on the national championship. I know conferences have a lot of pride and there's a lot of money in those games. I can't imagine being a head coach right now saying, this is what we play for. You're in the running for a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, who would you determine to have a more successful season last year, Texas or Georgia, who was knocked out of the playoffs first round, even though Georgia won the SEC championship game?
Yeah. See, that's.
I mean, it's pretty. It kind of evens out, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd take playing in a Cotton Bowl over winning the SEC championship, personally.
SH Longhorn, Indiana's a paper tiger. They don't play anybody who would have a 500 record in the SEC. Oregon would have over 500 record in the SEC. Come on, man. Come on, be real.
Indiana or Oregon?
Let's work into the real world here.
Indiana, I think.
Yeah.
Look, all I know about Indiana, every time I watch part of their games, or I haven't watched every single one of their games, I see highlights. If you want to look at that game control metric, there's not a team in the country that's controlled their games better than Indiana has this year.
Yeah.
So in terms of I mean, look, we all know the roster Ohio State has, right?
Yeah.
They're as legit can be. But I don't know that I've seen a team more impressive week in, week out than Indiana.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, they're good. I mean, look, it's hard to argue with the team that beats Illinois 63-10 and goes to Oregon and wins 30-20.
Yeah. I mean, UCLA was looking like the hot school in the conference, and they drubbed them 55-6. They just went to College Park, Maryland, won 55-10. I mean, these are not games, and this is why, partially when we look at the Texas schedule and we go back and we look at the games in Lexington and Starkville and why there was so much frustration, not just because of how poorly the team played, but in the larger picture of what those games will eventually mean when compared to other resumes of similar teams and similar records. You have to be given the benefit of the doubt. And Jared, to your point, starting off at 11 is great for Texas because they've been given the benefit of the doubt right away in the first playoff reveal, right? They're ahead of Oklahoma. They're ahead of a couple one-loss teams in other conferences. Right now, the committee values that. Well, if you were to just go out there and take care of business, win these games by 10 or 15 or shoot even 20, there wouldn't have even been a conversation as to where Texas would have been when this playoff poll released. And that's why I give Indiana the most credit of anybody right now outside of Ohio State, saying, hey, look, they just go out there and beat the ever-living crap out of teams. And they do it immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, this is a good question. I'm glad you brought this up.
I was about to say, I thought this was a good question.
It's a great question because I think look, a lot of it's going to depend on, does Notre Dame get upset at Pitt and take a third loss? And then if that doesn't happen, then does only one Big 12 or one ACC team get it? If there's one spot left open in that scenario, I do think Texas would make it as a 3-loss team and be the 12th seed. If you lose at Georgia, but then you come back and beat 11-0 A&M, if A&M wins this weekend, they're going to be 11-0. I mean, they got South Carolina and Samford at home. Somebody earlier asked where Samford was. It's in Homewood, Alabama. I don't know why I know that. I think I've passed through there before. But if A&M wins this weekend, they're going to be 11-0 when they come to Austin. In that scenario, I think Texas, as long as there's that number 12th spot available and there's not a second ACC or a second Big 12 team in, I think Texas would get in at 9-3.
Yep. We got a question from Jeff Carey here. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Texas are the most viewed teams. Then Michigan. If you examine the TV ratings the last 3 years, Notre Dame is not one of the top. I mean, I don't know how this relates to who's going in the college football playoff. I think has a lot to do with just how Notre Dame's schedule lays out. I mean, Miami looked like a not that bad of a loss at the beginning. You lose to 2 really good teams, you win out, you're all set. But now with how Miami's looking, doesn't look like that great of a loss anymore.
Yeah, Miami's cooked. The TV ratings are interesting because it's fun to sit there and compare the numbers. It doesn't matter in the ultimate scheme or ultimate end-all, be-all when it comes to these rankings. I was trying to rabbit hole very quickly. The Big Ten has a lot of movement remaining. It may not feel like it, but you start looking at some of these rankings. Michigan has 1 loss in conference play. Of course, if they go out and they defeat Ohio State at the last week of the season, things get a little muddy there. I think we all kind of pencil in Indiana given the remainder of their schedule right now. But look, Illinois isn't completely dead. Washington at 6-2. The remainder of their schedule is favorable to get to 10-2, perhaps, the way that they've been playing. And then their only 2 losses are to Michigan and Ohio State. So the Big Ten has a lot of movement left. I know that's a little off kiltered there, but just trying to picture what might happen later on in the world of college football playoff. Look, that there's a ton of movement still to be had out there in the Big Ten. And of course, we just mentioned Iowa and Oregon. Shoot, well, that's a loser leaves town game basically for me.
Definitely. I liked this question from Vince Blanc. I think y'all will probably disagree with this. Texas should drop playing hard out of conference teams. If Texas doesn't play OSU and plays a cupcake, they're 8-1. I mean, yeah, they're 8-1, but your best win's Vanderbilt at the end of the day.
I feel like the committee wouldn't punish Texas. Assuming a 9-3 Texas, I don't think would get punished for scheduling a non-conference game against Ohio State. Because I don't think the committee wants to set that precedent. Because then what's the benefit of scheduling non-conference games at that point?
Yeah. Well, there a lot of the talk. Somebody commented earlier that 9-3 Texas has no shot to get. I think it depends on how things play out. Again, if there's a spot for a 9-3 team, if an SEC team, if let's just say a Texas who loses if they lost to Georgia. Look, we're not playing. People saying focus on Georgia. I'm not playing. My focus on Georgia doesn't matter. Clearly, I was focused on Florida, and that didn't mean crap. So because the team didn't show up, so let's remember that. But if it comes down to a 9-3 SEC Texas and a 9-3 USC, it'd be interesting. The one thing where there could be an issue for a 9-3 SEC team is if 4 are already in. Would the committee put 5 SEC in and only 3 Big Ten? I think that's what would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. We got a comment from Freshwater Cajun. The committee didn't punish the Ohio State game just like they didn't punish Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a better loss than Texas. Texas also has better wins than other 2-loss teams.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I think Ohio State. I'd have to go back and think about the scenario there last year. I think the big one was SMU beat Clemson, right, to get in the conference championship game, so they got 2 in. The Big 12 only got 1 in, and then you had, and in the case of the Big Ten, they were going to put in the 10-2 Ohio State. They weren't going to get left out. Look, if Texas goes 10-2, they're in. That's obvious.
Look, let's not forget too. Last year, the SEC teams that got left out. Why they got left out. Alabama got blown out on the road against Oklahoma. That game wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss lost at home to Kentucky. So if you put those 3 losses together, like those 2 losses against the Texas-Florida loss, it's bad, but it's not that egregious when it comes down to it.
We got a super chat here from Guy. Thank you so much for the super chat. I understand A&M is undefeated, but they have not beat one SEC team with a winning conference record. In fact, the only SEC teams they've played and beat have all fired their head coach because they're terrible. This is a point that Billy keeps me wanting to not bring up in our podcast, because he rambled on and on about Texas's schedule last season and how
that's
Texas,
right. That's what
Texas
I was going to.
Played the worst of the worst last season, and it seems that Maroon Isle has just gotten very, very quiet about the fact that, I mean, South Carolina, nobody expected them to be as terrible as they were. People thought Florida was going to be a lot better this year, but that's not how it's panned out. They are literally playing every single bottom team in the SEC, and then also almost lost on the road at Arkansas. So yes, I think that they're deserving of where they're at right now just because of record, but it's a beatable team. They're a beatable team.
Yeah, and hell, I don't even know if Missouri can complete a forward pass at this point.
They're down to QB3. Yeah. They're down to it. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to get on A&M's schedule because everybody was on Texas' schedule last year. If you win all the games, if you go 11-1, you deserve to be in. Let's just say if they're 11-0 and lose to Texas, are people actually going to argue they don't deserve to be in the playoff?
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of teams getting upset in college football.
My point with this to Billy when he was criticizing our schedule last year was, Well, yeah, you play the bottom half, you win out, you get in the SEC championship game, you obviously lose, you still get in the playoffs, and you prove it in the playoffs. Do you deserve to be there? And Texas proved they deserve to be there. They won 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
So you prove it eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, A&M's handled his business so far. It is what it is.
They've won what's on their schedule.
Yeah.
And you don't apologize for that. I said the same thing with Texas last year. Like, you don't apologize for winning games in the SEC.
Now, what would be interesting for an A&M potentially is they get upset at Missouri this weekend, then they lose at Texas, then they're 10-2. They probably still get in, but boy, they have a lot. They could fall pretty quickly in the rankings. They probably still get in. As 5 SEC teams would be 10-2 in that scenario, but maybe potentially. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. But if A&M drops a couple down the stretch, and they're a 5th 10-2 team, probably in, based on the scenarios we're talking about earlier. But they have a thinner margin for sure.
And that's where you start comparing schedules too.
Yeah.
And you start comparing wins and losses. Like Texas would have, if everybody's 10-2, assuming everybody's 10-2, which would include Vanderbilt at that point, Texas would have wins over Vanderbilt. You couldn't keep Texas would win the tiebreaker because you'd have wins over Vanderbilt, OU, Georgia, and Texas A&M at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hoops game's about to get going. They've done the tribute to Dickie V, and we're about ready to roll here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll hear from our friends over at Culligan's first, and then we'll get right into that game. You know, when it comes to the water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or municipal source, Culligan has a perfect treatment solution for your home. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultra Pure today at 512-339-2378 to schedule your free water analysis. That's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan. And all right, we got this game about to tip off here, so I'll let y'all get along with this live stream watch along.
All right. Thank you, Amanda.
Of course.
All right, Jerry. So as we get to hoops, starting lineup for tonight, you've got Kendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, Dalen Swain, Nick Cody, and Modest Vocatitis in the starting lineup.
Yeah, so they went bigger. We wondered, said this morning, would they decide to go 3 guards, or would they go? They're going bigger, and Duke has as big of a starting 5 as there is tall, long. I mean, as there is in college basketball this year, probably without checking every starting 5. I mean, Caleb Foster, if he starts, I don't know what there's Duke start. Caleb Foster 6'5", Isaiah Evans 6'6", Dame Sarr 6'7.5", Cameron Boozer 6'9", Patrick Ingba a 6'10", 6'10.5", 6'11". So Texas went big. And I think this is what's interesting is how are they going to match up with Cam Boozer in this game? It looks like it'll be Nick Cody to start. I think they're going to have to use Dalen Swain on him as well. I don't think they want – that was kind of what I was talking about on the thread is you don't want Dalen Swain getting in foul trouble guarding Cameron Boozer. What I'm interested to see with Duke is when I watch some of their stuff, they almost inverted their offense a little at times. Cameron Boozer was top of the key with the ball in the ball screen game. Isaiah Evans can really shoot it. We'll see if Foster's shooting picks up a touch this year. Harris off the bench can really shoot it. Dame Sarr, I think, is going to be able to shoot it as he gets comfortable in college basketball. But Texas is going big to start. So your matchups will be it'll be Dalen Swain on Dame Sarr unless they flip that. And I don't think they'll put Cody on Sarr. So let's see what they do. I think how Texas handles Boozer in the ball screen game is going to be interesting early before these guys start playing chess.
So for everybody that doesn't know, Cameron Boozer, that's the son of Carlos Boozer. Jerry, can you believe it was 25 years ago that season, I think it's probably Coach K, maybe his second best team behind the 92 team, that 01 team with Carlos Boozer, Shane Battier, Jay Williams that won a national championship. Beat Arizona in a really, really good title game that year.
Yeah, so you see the link to Duke defensively. That's going to be Matas with a bad pass there. That pass will not work against that length at that angle. It's got to be over the top. And it'll be interesting. Texas is going to have to raise up and shoot the basketball in this game. And I know they want to get good shots. I know they want to make Duke rotate the defense work. But they are going to have to raise up and take some shots in this game to try to pull Duke out on them a little bit, because they can play, because they're so long, they can play a hand away at times on you. So you're going to have to raise up and shoot the ball over the top. There's Nick Cody with a little missed jumper. That's what foul on Ingba there. That's what Texas missed in their scrimmages. They beat SMU, didn't play well against TCU from what I was told, just didn't shoot the ball well in that one. But, Matas and Lucina Trejo are both not playing in those scrimmages. They didn't get any second chance scoring ops, or not many. They scored 89 against SMU with not many second chance scoring ops. Just something to know there. They should get more second chances moving forward with Matas. And there's a great shot by Tremont Mark off the dribble with Matas and Lucina, because both those guys rebound. The key for Matas to watch is he had one of the highest foul rates in college basketball last year. Without looking at the numbers, it was really high. He's got one of the big things for him this year as he plays more games is learning to play without having as high of a foul rate, because he's a good offensive player, but it's going to be hard for him to get those second chance scoring ops and get some paint touches, because he can play over either shoulder if he's on the bench saddled in foul trouble.
It's hard to think of a backcourt when you combine Mark, Pope, and Weaver, and that's play of any backcourt in the country that's played more college basketball than this Texas backcourt.
Yeah, and there's Boozer just bullying his way to 8 feet, misses it off the bank, knocked out of bounds by Texas, so they'll get a second op here for Duke. They haven't used Boozer in the ball as the ball handler in the ball screen game yet. I do think they'll probably work some of that, and based on what they did in their exhibition games, and there's some scrimmage tape on them out there on YouTube. Duke's actually publicized a lot of stuff. It's actually very interesting. That definitely wouldn't happen in the Coach K days, but we're in a different time now. Grab the ball, Matas.
I'm a little behind you, Jerry. I just watched Boozer just put a shoulder into Nick Cody and move up about 4 feet off the spot.
Yeah, so Boozer and Koa Pete had a big game against Florida last night. Two freshmen that are physically way advanced, like both in that. Boozer's a taller guy, probably an inch taller. There is a corner three, but a great block out by Texas there. But those guys are physically way advanced. They can play through your body as a freshman in college basketball. They don't have to just do it with skill. They can do it with physicality, and there aren't a lot of guys like that. Michael Beasley was like that. He could play through your chest as a freshman at K-State and did it extremely effectively. Syracuse Horn, is Boozer the son of former Duke player? Yeah, and his brother Caden Boozer is a 6'4" freshman guard off the bench for Duke as well. Can really defend. Really good on-the-ball defender. But those are Carlos Boozer's kid. There's Dame Sarr.
So both teams, Jerry, combined 1 for 10 from the field to start this game.
Yeah, not the start like Arizona and Florida had, man. Florida has a great drive. I missed the putback. Need that. I like that Swain put that pressure on the defense. I think that was Swain. I'm sitting a ways away from my TV. He got a really good driving op there. Got to finish those in this game. That you're not going to get many like that. And then I think Cody missed a second chance scoring op.
Yeah, that was man. It's a nice drive by Swain.
Yeah, Antoine Coapete's the brother of Andrus Peat. What's interesting, Texas was recruiting Andrus Peat. Stacy Searles was the OL coach at the time. I was doing national stuff. I went out to see Andrus Peat in high school and a long time ago, but I don't ever remember asking Andrus if he had a little brother. So, golly, I hate this. I would hate to think I had multiple conversations with that kid, never asked if, in my mind, maybe I'm just missing it and I'm getting old, but I can't recall. I've tried to recall that. If he told me he had a little brother that was coming up. I mean, obviously he was very young at that time.
Yeah, but at that point, Jerry, with Andrews Pete, his brother, I forgot where Todd Pete had played in college, but his dad played for the Raiders, so it was more about dad at that point.
This isn't nice, Matas. Yeah, that was a hook. Good feet though. He's not a twitchy kid, but he's got really good feet and he's really strong. He's pretty skilled at the ball. I don't know. I mean, I guess. It's hard for me to get with traveling calls when Giannis takes 9 steps.
Oh, they called that an offensive foul.
He did kind of hook. That was not a all-out hook. That was not an all-out hook. There's the first 3.
I think it was I think he was just throwing the elbow a little bit.
Yeah,
there.
It was the half hook. It wasn't the full hook.
So, Jerry, I think it's good at this point to just reiterate what you're looking for tonight. Obviously, the bottom line is going to be what it's going to be. But other than that, what do you want to see?
I thought this game would be a little bit more paced right now early on, and we'll see if they pick up the pace. I thought this would be a little bit quicker game early on. I didn't think it would be hyper speed like Arizona or Florida was. They have both those teams to really have pretty good experience coming back, even though Florida's added their new guards. They had all their bigs back, plus a key guy off the bench. Arizona had a lot of guys back off their team. I didn't think it would be at warp speed like that game was. That was an extremely high-level game last night. I thought that we might be playing with a little quicker pace so far tonight. Both teams are really loading up, trying to work shot clocks defensively. That's a huge shot there, guys, for Texas.
Yep, Jordan Pope, first 3. Look at Pope or Swain on that.
That was Swain.
Swain, okay.
Dalen Swain, if he becomes a 34% three-point shooter, a 3 from the left wing, good blockouts by Texas. Strong. Texas showing some fundamentals blocking out early in this game. I like what I'm seeing. Dalen Swain becomes a 33% three-point shooter. That does a hell of a lot for this basketball team because he is a really good playmaker off the dribble.
So the first group of subs for Texas is in. You got Jordan Pope on the floor. Lucina Traore also making his Texas debut. So it's Pope, Mark, Swain, Cam Heidi, and Lucina Traore.
So we get our first under 16.
Ugh. Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that block call there, but okay. Well, all right, Jerry, we're at the under 16 timeout. Texas with a 5-3 lead. Your two teams here are combined 3 for 15 from the field, so not ideal in terms of the start to the game. I do like the fact, Jerry, Texas 10 rebounds already. They're +6 rebounding right now. I dig that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, and they're doing it with fundamentals too. I mean, they got the size. I mean, Sean Miller. Look, I've always been a big Sean Miller fan, and I've always been a big Sean Miller fan because I've seen him evolve as an offensive coach. Like at Arizona, he played a much different style than what he did when he came off his year off, came back to Xavier. He adopted more of the fast execution, continuity offense with the same principles that Gonzaga run in Arizona runs with Tommy there, who was on the Gonzaga staff for years. I really like his plan offensively, and I think we're going to see. I'm not sure he's going to have the parts to truly run it this year, but I like where he wants to go with it. Now you got to recruit to that level, and it takes time. It's not add coach instant success. I've said on threads or on here before. I mean, look at the list of coaches that didn't make the tournament in the first year. Obviously, you want to make the tournament, but it's not a given. But what I like about Sean Miller is he's kind of evolved offensively. He hasn't stuck into the slower paced game. He's actually become a different offensive minded coach. And I really like that about him. I know he's going to get talent at Texas. And I know he's going to build a good roster at Texas. I mean, you look what he's done in this class already. I mean, Bo Ogden's one of the best shooters in the country. Is this team going to shoot the ball this year as well as I think future teams will at Texas? I don't think they will. I think some future teams at Texas are going to be better perimeter threats. I think some teams at Texas in the future will be even bigger at guard than this team is. But you can't get a lot bigger, but you can get a little bigger at guard, longer maybe have a little bit more juice off the bounce. So I just like where I think he's going to take the program because I know he's a really good basketball coach. And obviously he had some heartbreaks in the Elite Eight. He lost one game at Arizona by 1, another by 2. The third one was by 7. So he had some real heartbreaks there. And it had a 4th Elite Eight at Xavier back in the day, and that was not close. That UCLA team with Westbrook, Kevin Love, and all those guys was unbelievable that year. But, he's been the 4 Elite Eights. I think what I like about his timing coming to Texas is he knows what's left on his resume, and I think he's really hungry to try to get it done. That's going to be an easy call on Mark. But I like what the timing of when he's getting to Texas. He also has some really good timing from a recruiting standpoint to have Chris Ogden's kid, to have Austin Gooseby, who I think Texas leads BYU. I think Duke's third. By the way, Austin Gooseby and his brother are at this, not Trevor, and his older brother are at this game tonight. They flew in for this game. He's going to announce his decision around November 12th, which is when the early signing period begins. And there's some kids in Texas in the next class that there's some connections to. So he's getting to Texas at the right time. And now we'll see how he builds this roster. But I like what he's going to do offensively once he builds this thing out.
Ben want to know where the St. John's transfer is. So Tremont Mark checks out. Simeon Wilcher checks in. He'll be wearing number 7 tonight.
That's going to be off Texas. That was a good hustle play by Duke right there. Really good hustle play. Simeon Wilcher, Jordan Pope come off the bench tonight for Texas. And I don't think this lineup's like a set lineup for the rest of the year. I think you'll see some changes dependent. Could be matchup dependent on how this team progresses. I'm just glad Lucina didn't get his knee falling on at the right angle right now. He's had some soreness coming off being back on the court full time, missed those 2 scrimmages. And I think they're very careful with him. But this game, scoring-wise, it's not gone how I thought it would. I thought we'd be playing a little quicker pace. I think Sean Miller's doing a good job maybe keeping Duke from getting to their ideal pace early on. It's a good drive by Boozer. They're just missing a lot of chippies.
Yeah.
One thing about this Texas team, there's a great look. Oof. This is one of the keys for Texas, too. So Simeon Wilcher shot 29% from 3 last year at St. John's. You can go back and find good hands. You can go back and find articles, great attack, good defense. You can find articles from Rick Pitino saying Wilcher's a much better shooter than what he's showing for us this year. One of the keys for this Texas team, and I just look at how this team can maximize. He's one of the keys. He needs to shoot 35, maybe 36% from 3. He's looked like he can up to this point. Now it's got to carry over the real games. But if he can pull up to that area of shooting the basketball where Rick Pitino thought he would be, where Sean Miller, who recruited him out of high school, think he can be, that'll be big for this team kind of maximizing what they have. I mean, you're already seeing Texas has a lot more size. They're going to be very competitive on the glass. They're going to be challenged more shots. They're going to get more second chance scoring opportunities. Now the question becomes, does Dalen Swain make more perimeter shots? Does Simeon Wilcher make more perimeter shots? Because I think Texas Cam Heide will make open shots.
Yeah, no doubt.
Texas has some really good pieces if they come together and they make a couple of those guys take that next step on the perimeter. Like if Dalen Swain if he becomes a guy that you have to actually close out on hard from 3, he is extremely skilled. He becomes an NBA draft pick at that point in time. He's projected as a second rounder. He becomes a much different player.
And there he is right there, Jerry, giving Texas a 7-3 lead.
Now, he's so skilled. He is a playmaker at the wing position. He can really do a lot of things with the basketball. He's got a really good he's just a good second jump guy. He's got really good instincts for the game. He puts pressure on the defense off the drive at 6'8". If he can become a 33, 34% three-point shooter, that changes his game, and that changes how teams have to defend him. That's a great flare screen. Great flare screen by Duke right there. Sandman, where's the game being played? Spectrum Center in Charlotte. Neutral site, not really neutral site. There's probably 16,500 Duke fans there out of or 15, whatever, seats 17,500. So probably, 16,500 Duke fans there. So not really a neutral site game, but technically it's going to be called a neutral site game.
And Swain out 2 for 2 from beyond the arc, Jerry. That's kind of what. That's definitely the bright spot early on. Offense is starting to pick up for both sides a little bit.
Yeah, look, I mean, if Swain starts knocking down those shots, he's a first-round level player. Now, that's the bottom line with this guy. He is a first-round pick level player if he takes his shooting to really another level. He's always had a little bit of a hitch. And I think they've worked with him over time. That was a good cut. Improving that, but it does take time to develop there.
That was with a hand in his face, too, that 3. I'm digging that. Dalen Swain already with 10 points.
Good hustle play by Heidi. Cam Heidi's played in the national championship game at Purdue, multiple big games in his career. That's a great drive. Swain again. I mean, look, Swain's a damn good basketball player. If he's making perimeter shots, dude, he is a no-brainer NBA player.
Jerry, they've gotten some good looks in the paint too, and at the rim, stuff's not falling.
No, but they're putting a lot of pressure on the Duke defense right now. I like what I'm seeing from this Texas team. They're putting a lot of pressure on the Duke defense.
They are playing downhill, I'll say that, and I like that.
Look, I mean, Sean Miller's a really good basketball coach, and it's going to be night and day as you watch more from where Texas was the last 2 years. This guy's a really good basketball coach. I think he's 10th in winning percentage amongst active coaches. I think he's 10th in NCAA wins among active coaches. 5 or 6 Sweet 16s, 4 Elite 8s. He's a really good basketball coach.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in the future to see what he does as he gets more perimeter shooting and can really put pressure on the defense with the fast execution continuity offense. Because again, for those just jumping in, they want to run a lot of what Gonzaga does and Tommy runs at Arizona. Now you have to have the pieces to do that. So I think we're going to see it in glimpses. But the instant thing you're seeing for the Texas fans that maybe are casual basketball fans, you have size now. You're going to rebound. You're going to defend the paint better. You're going to create more second chance scoring ops. You're going to challenge shots at the rim a little better. But I like what I'm seeing. We just gotta we've just got to get Wilcher to make some perimeter shots, and then I think one of the other keys in the game like this is because Duke is so long on the perimeter. Can you get Jordan Pope some clean looks from 3? Because he is a high level shooter, but in a game like this against teams with 6'5", 6'4", 6'6" guards, you have to work to get him shots. So I'll be interested to see as the game moves along on Jordan Pope. They need to get him 6, 7 pretty clean looks from 3 as this game moves along.
Hey, Jerry, while we've got a pause in the action, we're at the under 12 media timeout. Texas up 12-11 on Duke. Dalen Swain leading the way with 8 points. Jerry, let everybody know about our good friend Mark Saunders.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. I will get to that read right now. We'll give Mark a shout out here. When it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Well, I got some great news for you. Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. One guarantee on Texas football will make you'll be in great hands with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Again, give him a call today, 512-218-8571.
Jerry, we got a couple of super chats left over from the normal Tuesday live stream. You want to get to those real quick?
Yeah.
We've got all right. Cubed says, will Del Conte try to get out of future out of conference games? Surely we play the next two at home, Michigan and Ohio State, but after that, I think it's Notre Dame twice. Jerry, I think that's all going to depend on when/if the playoff goes from 12 to 16.
Yeah, I think that's the whole key. I mean, when it goes to 16, that opens the door for 3-loss teams, right? And right now, it's like you're hoping that a 3-loss team, if you're one of them, has a chance to get in the playoff. When it gets to 16, there's probably going to be 2, maybe even 3-loss teams in it at a 16-team playoff. So I think and I think that comes in 2027 more than likely, but maybe it bumps back to 2028. Again, I think they're supposed to final vote on that in December, but it's not expected to be this year. Good ball pressure there from Duke. Is that 4 on the clock? I'm 3. I'm a long way away from my TV. Can you see how many I was on the shot clock there, Jeff?
I can tell you here in just a second because I'm about 6 seconds behind you.
Pope had to just catch it and get it off there. That was going to be a tough.
They inbounded it with 3.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't see what it was. 3. Thank you, guys. Four threes for Duke in the game. People around the Duke program think this is going to be a much better 3-point shooting team than a year ago. And I think in some ways they're going to have to be, because while Duke is very talented, they're not as talented as they were last year. And that doesn't mean they can't win a title this year because different seasons are different, right? But different years are different. But, I mean, that Duke team last year was so talented. Patrick Ingba is a pretty good player, but he's not Molowak in the post. I mean, Molowak was a monster defensively for Duke. Colin Knippel was tremendous. And then obviously Cooper Flagg, Tyrese Proctor went pro. I mean, their team last year was more talented than this team. So I do think the emphasis to be a better 3-point shooting team, more consistent, is going to be pretty big for Duke this year as the season moves along for them. So because they didn't have to be a great 3-point shooting team. And they were good, don't get me wrong, but they didn't have to be high-level 3-point shooting team last year to get a lot of things done offensively. This year they may have to be. We'll see as the season moves along.
We've already seen Isaiah Evans too, Jerry. He's gotten his shot off the bounce, off the catch. He's
good move by Nick Cody. Nick Cody's been, Isaiah Evans, a really good player. He's a future pro. Nick Cody's called the most improved player in the Texas program from a year ago. I think that's pretty obvious. He's the 4 guys stayed, and he was the guy who was a freshman and didn't play much coming off the knee. But even through the summer, when I've talked to people around Texas basketball, they said he's the X factor. If he takes a big step, then that gives Texas another score in the mid post. He can also step out. He hit a couple of threes against SMU in their scrimmage. He's a talented offensive player. And if he comes through for this team, he raises your offensive ceiling for this team. So it's big for Texas to be able to get 8, 9 points, maybe some certain games 12, 13 points out of Nick Cody as the season moves along. If a Dalen Swain has an off night, if a Cam Heide doesn't get many looks, they need to be able to get Nick Cody. Nick Cody's got to come through for this team offensively.
And I like that too, Jerry. They got a good matchup there with Cody on Dame Sarr guarding him there in the post. What I like about Nick Cody too, he's coming up on probably a little more now than a year and a half. Probably like 18 months, 18, 20 months ish removed from the knee injury he had as a senior. So, that was probably recovered maybe quicker than we thought, but just it was a process getting him acclimated last year, not so much this year. I'm glad he decided to not go into the portal and decided to come back to Texas. Isaiah Evans already 4 for 5 from 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, Isaiah Evans can really shoot the basketball. Kyle Vuska says the roster has Lacina at 6'9", 245. Yeah, I think he may be a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, Isaiah Evans is feeling it, man. These are catches with a closeout and high hands on him. He's in the groove right now.
And look, we've said it, Jerry. This is a hell of a litmus test. I mean, this is the toughest game in non-conference you're going to play right out of the gate.
Yeah. And look, Texas is a 10-point underdog for a reason. I mean, but when I've looked at this game, I'm not really concerned with you always want to win games. So I'm looking for how a team's playing. What is this team going to look like? How are they playing? How can these pieces fit together as Sean Miller builds these guys up throughout the season? That's the thing I'm looking for. You can't have that. That's the first just bucket that I didn't like defensively, but it's going to happen. You're playing against quality players. This is where Texas has to be able to match some scores.
Yep. So Duke on a 7-0 run right now. It's a 15-2 run over the last almost 3 minutes. Sean Miller takes a timeout. Duke up 23-14, 9:07 on the clock in the first half.
Yeah, so Texas has had the turnovers the last 2 possessions, and that's where Duke's going to get in their transition game. And that's the way you keep Duke from running, is not turning it over in the half court. If you turn it over in the half court, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 guys not in position to get back on defense, and that's when you get into issues.
Jerry, I'm with you back to back. That was probably the worst 2 defensive possessions I've seen from Texas, and probably the worst offensive possession. Like Tremont Mark just kind of got into no man's land, didn't really know where to go with the ball. But, I like a lot of what I'm seeing, Jerry. I do like guys are moving without the ball, which we haven't seen much recently. You've gotten guys with some good shots. And actually, some of these shots Duke has made, you've defended them decently well. It's just, if Isaiah Evans is going to make a shot with Dalen Swain all over him, I mean, I don't know what else he can do at that point. But
yeah, and look, I know how this is going to go. Texas guards suck, offensive line level. I don't agree. No. I think Texas has good players. I think Duke's really good team, and they're big and long. And you're not going to face a lot of teams like this throughout the season. I'm looking at how Texas builds. What do they look like? Fundamentally, they're a better team. One thing Duke is keeping Texas from doing is running in this game. And the only time Duke's really got the run is off Texas turnovers at the same time. But one thing that Duke can do against Texas that some teams cannot do in the future is they have so much length at Duke on the Duke team. They can play a step away and still close out with high hands on you. They can play a step away and take away a straight line drive opportunity and still get a closeout on you because they're 6'5", they're 6'6", they're 6'8" on their perimeter. So that go ahead and count the teams in college basketball actually have that. So they can do something against you that not everybody can.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zach Kern says we look so small. No, that Texas has length. Just Duke has exceptional length.
Yeah. If anybody expected Texas to physically have what Duke has out here, they're not paying attention to college basketball. Duke literally gets the pick of the litter in college basketball recruiting. So they're going to – and what John Shire's done is, Coach K had smaller guards, and Shire's moved away from that. Now, if Darren Rippey in this class wanted to commit, of course you'd take him because he's so explosive. He's like Kendall Weaver, different players, a point guard, but he's explosive like that. So he can be 6'2", 6'2.5", and you're playing much bigger than that. But Duke has made a concerted effort to recruit much bigger guards under John Shire moving forward. So they're even a taller, longer team than they've been.
That's a tough finish by Weaver off of a really good play by Dalen Swain to save that possession. Jerry, he's the bright. I've said it a couple times. He's the bright spot without question at this point. Swain is.
No, Swain's a pro player. The question, Swain's probably a second round draft pick guy. If he shoots it a lot better, he has a chance to kind of move up early second round. And maybe even into the late first, depending on how well he actually shoots it, because he is a really good basketball player. He can play at the NBA pace. He's an NBA playmaker from the wing position. He can guard multiple positions. He's just got to shoot it better. And he's shooting it tonight. Harris can really shoot it. They got a couple of guys that can hit 5 threes each and go for 10 threes in a game. And I do think for Duke, that's going to be huge for them this year because they're not going to be quite as good in some areas defensively, rim protection. Carlos Boozer's really good, but is he Cooper Flagg good with the ball? Is he going to put that type of pressure on a team?
So we're at the under 8 media timeout now. Duke with a 26-17 lead over Texas. Jerry, Duke's made their last 9 from the field, now 6 of 12 from beyond the arc. But Texas is hanging in there. I mean, it's not, it's not an effort thing from Texas. I mean, 10 offensive rebounds. You're right in it. It's just the 9 turnovers right now are killing you.
Yeah, no doubt. We see a lot of comments that ball handling sucks, but I mean, Duke's got a lot of length defensively. Again, watch throughout the season, see how many teams can do what Duke does. Zach Kern says, what are your guys' take on the portal versus recruiting in high school basketball? Look, I think, by the way, first of all, men's basketball now has 15 scholarships. I don't think many teams will use 15 scholarships. I do think one thing that's going to change is you're going to see some teams that are going to use a 14th scholarship on a developmental high school player more so. I do think you're going to see that. Look, you have to build a program. You have to have a certain level of high school kid. You still have to have development. You have to build a program. Is Texas ever going to have a 5-man high school signing class? I don't think so. Could they sign 4 this year if things fall their way? Sure. But I think most classes you're looking at 2 or 3 high school kids and then maybe a developmental guy as a 3rd or 4th. But it's going to be piecing it together from a portal standpoint while also having the players you're going to develop from the high school level. So it could be also just need dependent where you're at. And it's also dependent on what your NIL budget is in basketball. Yeah. I mean, look at if the going rate in the spring portal for some of these guards was $2.5-3 million for 1 year of basketball. And is Texas going to have a $12 million NIL budget, $15 million NIL budget? I don't think they are. So I think you have to build your roster. The other interesting thing is I don't think college basketball is just portal and high school recruiting. There's more international players wanting to come over now because they can make money in the NIL world. So you have to do, and Sean Miller is one of the first guys that had success recruiting international guys at a high level, Markkanen and some others at Arizona. You have to be really sound and have really good international connections. But now we have the other piece to it. Guys can leave the G League and come and play.
Yeah.
I mean, you have another piece to this right now. So it's not even just high school and portal anymore. It's high school, it's portal, it's international recruiting. Oh, and by the way, if a guy's unhappy in the G League and you offer him $2 million a year, he can bounce and play for you. So there's so many tentacles to basketball recruiting now. Figuring out these rosters is very interesting along the lines of your NIL budget. But I do think there's still a developmental aspect. These guys want to build programs too, and you have to build programs. And I said this, and I'm going to keep saying this because I think people are surprised. Todd Golden didn't make the NCAA tournament his first year at Florida. So if people just watched Florida last year, foul on 3, just watched Florida win a national title last year and hadn't kept up with the history of Todd Golden, he didn't make the tournament his first year at Florida. Danny Hurley didn't make the tournament his first 2 years at UConn. And these are all in the portal era. Rick Pitino didn't make the tournament his first year at St. John's. Chris Beard didn't make the tournament his first year at Ole Miss. I can go on. Mick Cronin didn't make the first tournament his first year at UCLA. Now, that was COVID, but they weren't going to get in anyway. So there's still a program building aspect to this stuff even now.
That, Jerry, and there's 2 other things I'd add to. Sean Miller at Xavier was really good about working the portal. I mean, he kind of had the right balance at Xavier. Their problem the last couple of years was injuries. Yes. He just never, his last 2 teams at Xavier, he never had the complete team on the floor by the end of the year that he had planned to have in the offseason. So that's a really big part of it. The other part, and we talked about this too, Jerry, when the hire happened, when you go to the portal, can you find multiple year guys?
Yeah.
And with Modest and some of these other guys, they've got, Dalen Swain, we'll see. Maybe he's in a position to go pro after this year. If he is, that means he had a really good year and you probably had a good year. But I think it's also making sure you've got to, it's not just going and collecting talent. Like, you've got to have a vision. You've got to have an idea. And there's guys like Chris Beard's maybe the best in the country at putting together a roster through the portal. Sean Miller did it at Xavier. I just want to see what he can do with a bigger budget and more resources at Texas.
Yeah. Some people didn't like that call. I kind of agree. Duke started to get a little more second chance ops, which Texas was doing a much better job clearing boards early in this basketball game. I love that pass. That's a great pass by the Duke player. I need about 10 more of those.
Nathan with a really good point. Quincy Oliveira was right there at Rice. Sean Miller got him at Xavier.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Sean's last two Xavier teams. To your point, Lucina Traore blew his knee out the first week of practice last year. The thought was they were a Sweet 16 team with him. There's his first bucket as a Longhorn. He's a good player. Rebounding travels with that guy too. Texas has some bigs. They're going to be able to rebound the basketball. But the year before was the big one. Fremantle, losing Fremantle, who was an all first-team league player. You just can't replace those guys who are 18 and 7s. He lost 2 years in a row. They lost their best big. And now Lucina and Fremantle would have played together on that team last year. So Fremantle was still their best big. But, get what I'm saying? Lucina was their best rebounder. But they lost guys you just can't replace the last 2 years. He probably would have had another Sweet 16 under his belt if he hadn't had those injuries.
Yeah, he just got out of position on that one, on that bucket by Brown. Kind of lost him a little bit. But to your point, Jerry, Lucina's already got 4 boards in this game. How many minutes is he? He hasn't played that many minutes either.
No, Lucina.
4 boards in 6 minutes.
The rebounding travels for a guy like Lucina. I don't care if it was double-doubles at Long Beach State. They thought he was going to be a double-double player. That was a force. Too much congestion there. That was not a good offensive possession. You can't drive into Matas's area and have 2 long-arm Duke defenders there. You got to get better spacing than that on that drive. You got to make a better decision. But, yeah, the guys who are double-digit rebounders, that travels. He's an effort player.
Daniel, I love the comment about 20 years ago when I was right around a junior in high school. That was my dream to go on Stump the Schwab. Never happened, but it was a dream.
Right there, that's just bad spacing on offense. Swain actually was in a good spot, good position, but with Matas there, Duke shot blockers right there. I mean, that's just really getting into a tight space. And against another team, maybe that shot that's not Alabama, not Florida, that shot may get to the rim. In this game, in that scenario right there, that shot's not getting to the rim.
That's why I like playing this game, though, Jerry. I mean, you get to stare the devil in the face right out of the gate. You're going to see some of the same stuff from other teams in the SEC. Being +7 right now in rebounding.
Great recovery defense. Great really hustle play. And one. See, Dalen Swain, what makes Swain so good, he is so good in the ball screen game as a playmaker. He sees the floor like a combo guard. He understands the game offensively like a combo guard does, but in a 6'8" body. That's a high-level freaking pass and play in this game.
No doubt.
Hey, and by the way, if you're big at Texas this year, you better have your hands ready in the ball screen game with Swain because he is going to make the correct play.
Love that. Declan Duru, Jerry making his Texas debut in the first half.
Yeah, so Declan is one of the, from everything I've been told, is one of the 4 5 most talented players on this team, maybe a top 3. Since he wasn't in the spring or in the summer, he's way behind, but you can see that height and length, and he is a running vertical 39 guy at almost 6'8". He is trying to learn the system on both ends. That's going to be big for him. If he had been in the summer, I think he'd be playing a very key role for this team.
Yep.
I do think as the season moves along, he's got a chance to really make an impact on this team. The one thing he's got to do, from what I hear, outside of just learning the game, but his length, man, and his athleticism he's got a very high ceiling. I mean, there's people that have him, for what it's worth, a projected like 2nd round pick in 2 years in the draft. We'll see if he gets there. But he's got to knock down the open threes. He will get open threes in pro ball and Real Madrid. Some of those, he shot it well. He hasn't shot it as well since he's been at Texas, I think, while he's trying to get acclimated and overthinking everything right now. If everything will slow down for him and he starts making perimeter shots, he becomes a threat for Texas because he can shoot. That's a great move by Swain. Just missed it.
So Duru was one of 2 international prospects Texas added late summer. Louis Obiara, Jerry, I think it's worth mentioning, 7'1" kid from Great Britain. He will redshirt this year. We will not see Louis Obiara this year.
No, yeah, he came over as a redshirt guy, nowhere near ready to play. He's a 7'1" guy. He can rim protect. He can block shots. But he is young in the game of basketball. He's not without skill, but he's got to develop that skill. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get better in terms of holding the post defensively and being able to play without fouling. He is a long-term guy for Texas, but this year he came over with the understanding he would redshirt. Burn Ends asked, where did Rodney Terry end up? He's actually going to be doing some stuff with ESPN, and he's a scout for the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. Daniel Ornato, I agree on Matas. Moves very well like a UFC heavyweight Alexander Volkov. Matas has really good feet. He's a big guy who's not vertically a great athlete, but he's got really good feet. He's got really good hands, and he is really a physical player. Overly physical, and that's why he gets in foul trouble, but I'd rather him be overly physical than not physical enough. One area he's got to get a lot better at is converting from the free throw line. More consistent. But it's year 2 of college basketball for him. But this is where this Texas team has a chance. I mean, last year you did not have anybody who could just do what Matas did and get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
Now you've got Matas is going to be a Matas will play pro basketball, either high European league. Maybe he's a G League guy in a couple of years. We'll see how he develops. But this dude's going to play pro ball and maybe at the highest European league, making a really good living at the game. We'll see if he's athletic enough to be a G League player, how his skill develops. But this dude, the play he just made right there, Texas doesn't have that play last year.
No, I like the fact, too, Declan Duru has not flinched in this game either. So I like what I'm seeing from him. He had a out-of-control drive, but I like the assertiveness that he showed with the ball. And to your point, Jerry, they had plenty of games in the SEC last year where, I mean, they just flat out got bullied, and it wasn't like an effort thing. They just didn't have size. That's not going to happen this year.
No, Sean, that's the first thing Sean Miller addressed. And look, the great thing about Sean being hired, and he already knew, right? But when you scout Texas like he did for that NCAA play-in game, that was almost a great pass, man. When you scout him, you see the real weakness of the roster, the job you get. You see the real weakness of that roster. And look, I think Sean's a tremendous coach. I think he's going to build really good rosters at Texas. I just don't have any doubts this guy's going to win. I'm not guaranteeing Final Fours. That stuff's hard to do, man. But Texas has a real basketball coach here, and a guy that has recruited. I think he has the second most current NBA players, or third most. Right now, I mean, this guy has the eye for talent, and they're at all positions. I love that he recruits internationally, has connections internationally. I just think Texas basketball is in really good hands moving forward. And a lot of it's because he's evolved offensively. I just like where he's headed as a coach. And I'm really tickled he's the coach at Texas. I think Texas basketball has a chance. I mean, Chris Beard gave Texas a real chance. I think Sean Miller gives Texas a chance too. We'll see how it goes.
Well, Jerry, we talked about it. I got to OTF in January, February, and basketball was already in the throes at that point. But one thing we talked about was, hey, in the SEC, you got to have an offense that can score points when you're going up against Cal and Mark Pope and Todd Golden and Nate Oates. I mean, you got to put a product on the floor where you can count on getting X number of points, because there's going to be games in this conference where you're going to need to score 75, 80 points to win.
Yeah.
And I like that Sean Miller's bringing that. All right, we're at the last media time out of the first half. Both teams in the bonus, by the way. Duke with a 29-27 lead. Duke hadn't scored in 2.5 minutes. So Texas getting it done on the defensive end of the floor right now. Jerry, while we got time, want to let everybody know, want to say thank you actually to our Tuesday night sponsor. That's Andy Ludicky and our friends over at My Perfect Franchise. Are you stuck in the corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you can make or your schedule in general? Call Andy. He'll take you through a process to help find a business that'll fit your skill set and financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your destiny, call Andy or email him at andy@myperfectfranchise.net.
Hey, question here from Bobby. Whatever. Was keeping Chris Ogden part of the deal? It was not. Sean Miller interviewed Chris Ogden for the position. It was not part of that he had to keep him. There was a time where Chris Ogden did not know what was going to happen. And I think Sean Miller smartly kept Chris Ogden. I think Chris Ogden does a really good job as a Texas GM. And yes, his kid's a really good player, but I think Chris is really good at his job. And he has institutional knowledge of the University of Texas. I think that was a very smart move by Sean Miller. Chris Ogden's a well-respected guy in the state too. While he's not in a recruiting position, he can still get on the phone and help you. I think that was a smart hire by Sean Miller. I think Chris Ogden, I don't remember who it was that covered Texas that essentially said Chris Ogden's terrible. They're wrong. Chris Ogden's good at his job. Cordy says, will Texas get both Austin Gooseby and Cam Williams? I feel pretty good about Austin Gooseby. Cam Williams, I mean, Texas, Duke, Arizona. I think it could go any one of three ways. Two, before the Duke visit, everything I was hearing was Texas, Arizona, Arizona, Texas. I'm not saying which team led when I say that. Since the Duke visit, obviously Duke is Duke. They're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns. You get the whole joke. But I think I've heard it's more Duke, Texas, but I'm not one that's going to rule out Arizona completely on this. That kid's at Phoenix St. Mary's. Arizona's got a great program, tremendous young coach. Koa Pete will be there 1 year. That spot opens up. I mean, there's some things there. I could see Cam Williams going any of those three directions, honestly. But I do know they love their visit to Texas. It's an easy flight to Austin. We'll see which way it goes.
For whatever it's worth right now, Jerry, 2 fouls each on Patrick Gongba and Cameron Boozer for Duke. Yeah. So just something to file away as we get toward halftime here.
Hey, Daniel Ornos, it's 2 7-footers. Yeah, Texas isn't going to lack for size anymore. I'll tell you that. I mean, and look at Declan DeRue's arm length, by the way. Look how long this kid is. Number 4 out there. He is 6'7.5" without shoes on with the measurement, but he plays 6'10" with that wingspan.
No doubt.
Open gym 3, can't have those, but they call a foul. Yeah, easy call right there. Checked it.
Texas 9 for 10 at the foul line. I like that.
Oh, that was foul on Mark. My bad. No, I say I'm away from the computer. That was or far from the TV. That was on the. Yeah, Syracuse Horn Duru is also strong. He's a strong-bodied guy for sure. You know what? Duke's doing a good job of, in my estimation. Oof, can't do that. Bad turnover. That was a force, Lucina. Duke's turning ball screen to the baseline a lot, where they can use their length and cause Texas issues making the passes from the deep wing baseline area, corner baseline area. They're doing a good job trying to turn that ball screen to the baseline as much as they can to the wing, deep wing, corner baseline. Texas has to stay out of those situations with the guards.
So as we get toward halftime, it looks like both teams are ending the first half offensively how they began it. Duke hadn't had a field goal in almost 4 minutes. Texas closing in on 2.5 without a field goal.
Second on Lucina. Curtis Osher said, what's the story on our big physical redheaded guy? Matas Vokitaitis. He is from Lithuania. He came over to the States last year, played at FAU. I think he was the AAC, maybe freshman of the year. Average about, I think, I'm not looking at the stats right now, but average around 10.5, 11 points, 5.5 rebounds per game. Had one of the highest foul rates in college basketball last year, his first year in college. They think that's going to improve this year, but I'm kind of waiting to see because he plays more length and athleticism. Not in just this game, but in the SEC. But tough kid, really good hands, can play over either shoulder. He's a skilled guy. He's got good feet. He's not a vertical pop athlete, but he is a really physical player that can score with either hand over the top.
I mean,
and he'll be at Texas 2 years. That's the main thing.
So Duke in the double bonus the rest of the way. Jerry, at this point, I mean, I'll take a 3-point deficit where you've shot 35% and turned the ball over 11 times in the first half.
That's Matas's interest. That's 2 offensive foul calls in this game. So now he's got 2 fouls. Lucina got 2 fouls, back-to-back possessions. Now both of your bigs. See, he's got to learn to play, whether it's defense or offense. He's such a physical kid. He's going to have to trust his skill level some and get to that shoulder quicker without the second bump to get the foul. He is a high foul rate player. I think he's got a really good future in the game. He's going to have to learn to be more efficient without fouling. Good shot block. Texas can actually protect the rim this year, guys. It's going to be fun to watch. Burn-In said, any hops on this team other than 2? I like jumping a bit. I mean, Kendall Weaver may be as good athlete as there is in the University of Texas at this point. He's a total freak show. And there's not many guys that are going to jump like that.
You know, Jerry Gongba didn't flop on that offensive foul by Modest, but he sold it. He sold it well.
Hey, Don Chino, can we pull the upset though? Who knows, man? I mean, it's game 1 of basketball. We haven't seen any of these teams play. Mata's shooting free throws much better this year. I'll say that. Last year it was an adventure at times. If he gets to where he makes 68, 70% from the line, he's a heck of a different player offensively.
Texas 11 for 12 at the charity stripe in the first half.
Good action there. Good defense.
Well, Connor, sorry YouTube TV is killing you, but that's that's why Jerry and I are here. We're all about the people.
Jordan Pope pushing here. Be careful. One thing you have to be careful about handling the ball against Duke is they're so long on the perimeter, they can get you on the back tip, and that's going to be – they pulled the chair on Matas. That was a smart play by Duke. So here's the thing that I'm watching. But the other thing, Sean Miller's a really good player development guy, really good coach. So kind of my thing I'm looking for, and I'm not a one game, as a former basketball player, I'm never a one game snapshot guy in basketball. I'm watching what I see over the first 9 or 10 games of the year. Where do I see this team improve? They're going to shoot it better from three than they have tonight because not many teams have this type of length and can disrupt you like that. But where do we see guys improve? How much do we see guys improve? That's the shot he's got to make. In Matas, is he going to get? He's going to get better. How quickly is he going to get better? Where can this team go? And it's going to be after 9 or 10 games. I really start to formulate an opinion. Let him get through Maui. Let him play some other Power 4 teams. Good play by Cody. He's just a different player this year, man. If he plays at this level, Texas has a chance to be really good. Really good. But I just want to see it. I'm more of a 9 to 10 game snapshot guy in basketball to see where this team can actually go as they improve as the season moves along. But hard to not be happy with what you see from Sean Miller right now. Big possession, no turnovers. Play this thing out, get a good look, get a high percentage look if you can. Don't force a drive and get a charge, though. That's not the shot you wanted. You don't want Lucina shooting a 19.5-footer.
No.
Yeah, that's not Miller's upset. That's not what he was looking for on that position. And again, one of the things I look for at this stuff is you're going to execute better at the end of halves, at the end of shot clocks as the season moves along. And Sean Miller sees who's actually going to deliver in games versus practice, right? And kind of get a feel for this team. But I think this team will continue to get better with Sean Miller. I don't think this is a team, as long as they stay healthy, that's going to go the wrong direction. The guy's a really good coach, and I like what I'm seeing, especially considering who they're playing.
All right, so 6.8 seconds to go in the first half. Texas up 33-32 on Duke. Texas right now 10 for 30 from the field, 11 to 12 at the charity stripe. You like that? 25 rebounds. They're actually plus 9 on the boards right now. The problem, 10 fouls, Duke's in a double bonus, especially some of the stuff down low. Jerry, you pointed out Matas is a really high foul rate guy last year. 12 turnovers for Texas also in the first half.
Yeah. Turnovers are the issue. Again, I'll stay on this. Duke's got real length on the perimeter. Texas isn't going to face real length like this on the perimeter. Do they need to get better? Absolutely need to get better. But they also aren't going to play many teams with this type of length. That's a great drive there. For Boozer, for a power forward kid, he plays off 2 feet so well off the dribble, man. I watched him at an AAU tournament in Atlanta. I was going through Atlanta, going to see spring kids in spring football last year, and I didn't even realize that the AAU tournament was there, and it was. So I went over there and just to watch some kids. KD's team was playing, and Boozer was so good playing off 2 feet off the dribble for a guy who's a 4 in the NBA. Like so under control. Should I be surprised? It's Carlos Boozer's kid. I shouldn't be, but still the feel and understanding of how and when to do it. He does a great job getting defenders off their feet. But Boozer's going to be a really good pro.
All right, so Texas with a 33-32 lead at halftime. Jerry, just your general thoughts on the first half.
Slower pace, a little bit slower pace than I thought. Now, some of that's Texas turnovers. Some of that is Duke's outside of Isaiah Evans. They haven't been really good offensively. Texas, I love the bigs. Sean Miller came in and built size into this roster, so Texas can now defend the rim. They can rebound the ball. They can get some second chance scoring ops. What I like about Texas outside the turnovers, which I don't love, but I give credit to Duke because Duke has more length on the perimeter than any team Texas may play this year. There may be some teams that are quicker, but not many teams are going to have that length. I like that Texas is making free throws to make up for some of their critical errors in this game. I love what I'm seeing from this team. I think Sean Miller is going to have better perimeter shooting teams in the future. I think this team will shoot the ball better from the perimeter against some different opponents this year. I don't think anybody should take a one-game snapshot and say this is how it's going to be. It doesn't work that way in hoops. But I just love the way these kids play. Nick Cody, if he can play anywhere close to this level, that takes Texas to another level. Because if he can give them 8 points, 6 rebounds a game, which turn against good opponents, which turns into 12 points and 6-7 rebounds against some of the mid opponents, then Texas' offensive ceiling's higher. Now what they got to get, the toughest thing for Texas to get against Duke, and it won't be that way against some other teams, is this because Duke is so long that Jordan Pope isn't going to get a lot of clean looks without action run for him unless there's transition. And I do think there's going to be other teams this year where Jordan Pope gets a lot more clean looks and he's more of a scorer because that guy can score the basketball, he can shoot the basketball. But Duke's length is going to be an issue in this game for him unless they get him in transition or they get him lost in the offense. But I just like everything I've seen from Texas, really. I'm not – I just like where the program's headed. Texas has a tremendous basketball coach. You're going to play physical. You're going to play tough. You're going to have a roster with size. And if this is what we get in game 1, let's see where we're at in game 20 because the kids are going to get better under him.
Jerry, to your point on some of that stuff, some of the mistakes we saw in the first half, that's stuff that's going to get sorted out. So that clunky possession where everybody kind of got wadded up there and you ended up with a Lucina 3, that'll be cleaner. To your point on Nick Cody, his 3 boards, Jerry, and that's exactly what he's on pace for. He's got 4 points and 3 rebounds at half. All 3 of his boards are on the offensive glass. And, one thing that I loved about the Elite 8 team that Rodney Terry had to take over in the middle of the year, and somebody asked earlier about the point guard. You had multiple guys on that team who could facilitate offense. The offense could run through them. Whether it was Tyrese Hunter, Jabari Rice, Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, Dessou, you could run the offense through. You've got multiple guys on this team, Jerry, where you can run the offense through them. And that's one of the benefits to Sean Miller's style.
Yeah, and look, it has to be that way, especially on this team, right? And I think one of the things I want to see in the second half is Duke's doing a really good job of turning ball screen to the baseline to the corner. And that you're going to have real issues against team with length, with lengthy guards and wings, if they can turn your ball screen game and force you to the deep wing corner area, because it's going to be hard to make passes over that length. That's one of the things I'm looking for in the second half. Can Sean and can Texas players, are they going to make the quick adjustment, or is it, some of these things take time seeing it too over the course of games, even though Duke presents a problem, maybe only 1 or 2 other teams you play can in that regard. But can you get out of that, getting that letting Duke turn you towards the baseline corner in the ball screen game as much? Texas has to get to the middle more in the second half off the dribble drive, out of the ball screen action. Duke's doing a really good job not letting them get there right now. And that may have to be Dalen Swain in this game, but Texas has to get more middle in this game. The big thing about getting to the middle more is you're going to draw the rotation. And if your ball screen game gets pushed towards the baseline, your weak side pass is extremely difficult unless you can get to the corner and whip it to the other corner, which is what they do in the NBA. Sometimes they want you to turn that ball screen down because they're playing for the opposite corner 3. That's not really going to be the case with this team right now. So you have to get to the middle more to draw some of that wing rotation, and so you can get some catch and shoot threes from the corner of the wing, because you're not going to do it on baseline drive, kick the opposite. That's not going to happen in this game.
Jerry, what did you think of Florida last night, watching that Florida-Arizona game?
I have an issue with Florida, and I think Todd Golden is a tremendous offensive basketball coach. His action he runs, a lot of the European stuff, is exceptional with the spacing. If Boogie Flan does not make perimeter shots for them this year, they're going to have some issues based on what I saw. Now, Arizona's really good, but Boogie Flan last year, they had multiple guys that can make perimeter shots. And Xavier Lee's going to get better, right? It's a big transition from Princeton to Florida. He still played pretty well. He didn't make many threes. I think he was 3 of 13. I watched most of that game. And he's going to have to play better, shoot it better. He'll make better decisions on shot, I think, as he gets more acclimated to high-level basketball. He's a good player. But Boogie Flan's got to make perimeter shots for them. If he doesn't, that's going to put too much pressure on their bigs. Florida last year played 3 guards. This year they moved Thomas Huff out to the wing. So they're playing bigger than even last year. They have Chinaloo, they have Condon, and they had Huff. So they went like 6'10", 6'11", and 6'9", 250 brute strength. So they only played 2 guards. If that's the way they're going to play this year, Boogie Flan has to make perimeter shots. If he doesn't make perimeter shots for them, as good a coach as offensively as Todd Golden is, there's going to be times where they struggle more offensively this year than they did last year. And yes, they don't have Walter Clayton, but if Boogie Flan makes more perimeter shots for them, they're going to be really, really tough because they have so much skilled size. I mean, Condon and Huff are so skilled for bigs. They have great court vision. They can both shoot it. They can both drive it and get to the free throw line. Arizona was a really good basketball team, though. I wouldn't be shocked if either one of those teams made it to a Final Four. I mean, that was a high-level basketball game to start the year. 93-87 is what it ended up, and I really liked Arizona. Tommy does a great job recruiting internationally. He's the guy that helped build the Gonzaga program through international recruiting. I mean, Mark Few's got the wins next to his name, but Tommy did all of the international recruiting there. And he's got the freshman from Germany. He's really good. The kid that can really shoot it, got hit in the nuts last night and was down for a while, but he can really shoot it. Good player. De La Soro. He almost went in the portal. I think he was going to go to Texas if he jumped in the portal, but he didn't end up going in the portal. He's a really good player off the bench for them. Obviously, Jaden Bradley, who started his career at Bama, now at Arizona. He got to the paint too much probably for Todd Golden's liking, but he's got a way about him. I think if I was Florida, I'd have forced more perimeter threes contested with him last night because he doesn't really want to shoot it. You almost have to force him to shoot it. But Florida is going to be a tough out as long as Boogie Flan makes perimeter shots. If he struggles shooting the ball on the perimeter, they're gettable in a different way than they were last year.
Man, it seemed like Texas recruited Pete for 3 or 4 years. You guys are really good player.
They did. And Texas was right there for Pete. And they might have won out for him if Rodney had done enough to keep his job, because Rodney had really good connections to Pete, around Pete, the AAU world around Pete. But I'll gladly take the trade Texas has.
Yeah.
And I think the SEC is going to be crazy good league again. I'm not saying it's going to be as good as last year. Look, Kentucky's got a heck of a roster. There's a lot of pressure when the numbers get out there. Hey, you got a 19.5, 20 million. So a couple of college guys told me they don't believe it's 22 million. They think it's 19.5 to 20. That's a big number. So that puts a lot of pressure on Mark Pope. I don't know if Tennessee's as good as they have been. Nate Ament's a really talented guy. He's a lottery pick, top 5 level guy. I'm not sure they're as good around as a whole as they have been. We'll see what happens with Auburn. That's a big adjustment. They lost a lot. Now Stephen Pearl comes in. By the way, Arterio Morris at Bethune-Cookman, back playing college basketball, double-double last night. That guy's so talented if he could have kept it together.
Understatement.
I mean, so talented. Arterio's, watched all those kids so much in AU. Arterio's so talented. But I don't know if Tennessee's quite as good. Alabama is going to be really good as long as Nate Oates is there, because he runs the fastest pace in college basketball, and they does a great job of spacing. He does a great job recruiting a roster to fit him. And Phil Bond's a stud. Philon's a freaking stud. He's an all SEC league first-team guard. Like, he's really good. Are they going to shoot it as well on the perimeter? I mean, Mark Sears was really good for them last year. The league's going to be tough again. Chris Beard's a witch. He can coach. He's going to have his team in every game. And I think the league's going to be really good. I like A&M's hire. I think Bucky balls, they call it. It's a poor man's Nate Oates style of play in a way. I'm not saying he can get the same players, but A&M's going to be good with him. They're going to be different because they're going to be a faster-paced offensive team where Buzz wanted to grind on you a little bit more. Obviously, Oklahoma. I think the guy's a tremendous coach at Oklahoma. They don't support him from an NIL level as they should. Porter Moser, but he's a really good basketball coach as well. Obviously, Arkansas is going to be good as long as Cal's there. Are they going to be what Kentucky was? Probably not. It's a different time and day and age in college hoops, but it's going to be a really good league.
Yeah, that Tyson Walmart money goes to it's going to Cal. It ain't going to Sam Pittman / Bob Petrino / whoever the next football coach is. I'll tell you who else. Jerry, one of my favorite coaches in the SEC. I really like Chris Jans at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm. Jans is he's a good basketball coach, no doubt. I think he's of the current basketball coaches, active college basketball coaches that have coached more than 5 years. I put this on our thread. I think he's one of the top 12 in win percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so he's put it on the board consistently. Really good basketball coach. It's a tough league, man. I mean, we'll see what happens with LSU and South Carolina. Those are kind of the teams you wonder about here, there. So we'll see where those two go in the league this year. Vanderbilt coach can really coach offense, guys. Second-year coach. I love him as an offensive coach. That's the thing about how the SEC's evolved. Yes, they got long athletes. Vanderbilt's guy's a stud on offense, coach. Todd Golden's a great offensive coach. I think Sean Miller, how he's changed offensively, is going to work really well for him in the future as he builds out his program. There's some high-level, faster-paced offensive basketball coaches in this league. Bruce Pearl did it different. It was more helter-skelter, right? I mean, let's just see what Stephen Pearl does long-term, and can he attract those players? Bruce Pearl was such a magnetic personality. They played helter-skelter. They put a little different pressure on you. Mark Pope's an extremely high-level offensive basketball coach at Kentucky. Love what he does. Rick Barnes has even evolved offensively some. He's not going to ever be on those guys' level. We'll see how long he coaches, but this league's come a long way in offensive basketball in a short amount of time.
And Nathaniel, that's the response. Your post. This is going to be a fun team to watch. That's what I was hoping most Texas fans would take from this opener. It's going to get cleaned up. Obviously, you're not going to have the 12 turnovers and a half. I don't care who you're playing against. That's just Sean Miller will probably tell you that's not their standard. But, Jerry, the style of play they play where they're attacking, they're going downhill, they're pushing the ball up the floor. It's high effort. People can get into this style of play.
Yeah. Yeah, look, and what'll be interesting in the second half, Boozer's not going 0 for 14 in this game, right?
No.
So once he gets on his run, what's Texas going to do defensively? If he gets on a run and Duke makes 2 or 3 threes, they could extend the game pretty quick. So it can only be one of two things here for Texas in this game because Duke has so much firepower. In the first half, it was the threes, right? There were, 6 of 14 from 3, but really that was Isaiah Evans, 4 or 5. Boozer's not going 0 for 14 in this game. So if he gets it going a little bit in the second half, what you can't have is Boozer scoring and then, oh, by the way, they hit 3 threes around it. Then they could put a run on your butt a little bit. The other thing I'm watching the second half, Matas 2 fouls, Lucina 2 fouls. Matas, as he gets more experience at the high-level basketball here, he's also got 5 turnovers due to 2 of those offensive fouls. That's 5 of your 12 turnovers come from the center position. You absolutely cannot have that in a game like this.
No.
So that in Texas, I know a lot of fans are looking at the ball handling on the perimeter. Duke's really good, long guys. They're going to get hands on balls and create some situations. But you can't have 5 turnovers from your center position and a half. Because then when the center turns the ball over, if it's not a charge, if the center's turning the ball over deep in the painted area, then that team's going to get a transition on you the other way.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned foul trouble, Jared. Gongba, Boozer, and Foster for Duke, all each with 2 fouls to start the second half.
Yeah.
I've got a super chat from JR. Thank you for the super chat. Says, thank you guys for doing this live show. I have YouTube TV and can't watch. Yes, Chris Jans is very good and will be poached soon. Please don't let it be below you. Jerry, you mentioned it that Porter Moser doesn't get supported from an NIL standpoint. I guess that all depends on what Oklahoma, kind of what their expectation for men's basketball is.
Yeah.
I mean, if they just kind of want to be, hey, we're competing for a tournament spot every year, and this is the expectation, then yeah, you can be fine. So Porter Moser might last a little bit.
Yeah, Porter tried to get Villanova last year. He didn't get the gig. He was trying to get somewhere they'd support basketball a little bit more. Somebody asked in the chat, this is what's going to be the fascinating about college basketball for me in the next few years. If you're with Rev Share, if you're at a non-football playing school, you do have an advantage in college basketball because your NIL from Rev Share can be higher than some SEC teams.
Mm-hmm.
So does that give Villanova, St. John's? I mean, UConn has football, but let's get real on where the NIL money's going. But I take it a step further. Look at places like Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
like a Grand Canyon University, they don't have football. So they may not use all their rev share, but their basketball program is going to have enough to be able to compete, especially in international recruiting. That was a great play. That was a great play to start the second half. But some of these schools are in a position to really compete with the rev share in recruiting now. And it may not be necessarily VCU, like maybe you can get that top 75 guy in the country at the high school level that the major schools may not want to pay up for necessarily. But from an international perspective, what can you do with the rev share at some of these mid-major programs? I think there's going to be some mid-majors that have some pretty good seasons coming up because there's so many different ways to get players now, and they're going to have money through rev share to compete.
I'm thinking about not just those Big East schools, Jerry, but you look at a school that doesn't have football, like does a Wichita State get back into it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm watching. It really is. Who's going to be that? San Diego State got to the Final Four without much NIL. Now they got rev share. So those schools, what can they do? I think college basketball is going to be fascinating to watch in the future. We need Nick Cody to raise up and make a three if they're not going to guard him. What you don't want, see, that's a possession right there. I want Nick Cody to raise up and take that shot and not leave it to Kendall Weaver to take that shot contest. Yeah. That's where over this course of the season, this team can get better. If Nick Cody catches the ball top of the key and the defense is playing step away on him, I want him to take that three versus then the extra pass and Kendall Weaver forces the three. That's where you can get a lot better as a team offensively. Got to make that shot there. Had some good looks in the second half. Oh, that was a great move baseline. See, what you don't want is Matas guarding on the perimeter.
Yeah.
He's not going to foot speed lateral. He's not going to be able to guard a quicker player in that scenario. So Duke's got really good basketball players. See where they attack in the second half.
So you said he wasn't going 0 for 14, Jerry. Cameron Bruiser right out of the half, Duke's first 4 points.
Yeah, no. He's way too good of a player. I mean, he's a lottery pick. He's a top fiver. Matas has had 3 good looks in the second half. Hadn't converted any of them. Got lucky there because Cody's playing at a high level. Second chance scoring up, gets to the free throw line.
You mentioned a minute ago, Jerry, I like Nick Cody taking that 3, though. Didn't hesitate.
I do too. Look, because what is Duke wanting to happen right now? They want Kendall Weaver to take contested threes.
Right.
Or take the 3. They want Kendall Weaver shooting 6 or 7 threes in this game. They're not going to give him a straight line drive. They can play off with their length. What they want Kendall Weaver to do is be the guy with the ball in his hands when the shot's got to go up from the perimeter. That's their game plan because that's not Kendall's strength. I think he'll shoot maybe 32% from 3 on the year, but against a 6'6", 6'7" guy that has long arms, he's not a high-level shooter. So if you're Duke, that's the shot you want taken. Can't miss both.
No, Sean Miller already going to the bench here. 17-27 mark. Pope, Swain, Wilcher, Cody, and Traore is your lineup right now. I think I jinxed the foul shooting, praising that 90% at the half. My bad, everybody. Sorry.
Roger G, can Cody shoot the three ball well? I think he'll be a 33, 34% three-point shooter. He made a couple against SMU in the scrimmage. I would rather him take the three, like I said, in the half court set than Kendall Weaver take a force. But I'll maintain what I've said earlier. Duke has real length on the perimeter. Texas will make more threes than this season. There's not many teams that have this type of length on the perimeter. There will be better looks. There will be cleaner looks. There will be more shots made. If you're Duke, you got to keep – it's a good look. If you're Duke, you got to keep Jordan Pope from getting the open threes in this game. See, I mean, Dame Sarr's guarding Pope. They're not going to let – and that's a bad turnover. They're not going to let – oh, my gosh. Texas got lucky. They're not going to let Jordan Pope be the guy to make threes against them. It's going to have to be somebody else. That's what having great length can do that not every team has that length. Lazy pass.
All right, so after the Foster bucket, Sean Miller's going to take a timeout. That'll bring up the first media timeout. 16:20 to go second half. Duke up 40-33. Oh, that's – yeah, Duke 8. I want to start to think Jerry, that bucket by Foster, it's one of the few defensive possessions I have not liked tonight, getting back in transition. You just got to get the ball stopped right there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Texas has missed 3 inside 5 feet and a half, missed 2 free throws. So the plays they were converting a little bit more in the first half, they haven't converted in the second half. Duke's not going to give Pope threes. That's going to have to come through some independent action if they run any independent action for Pope. This Duke game plan is Kendall Weaver, we want you taking the 3 when it's late in the clock. Pope, we're going to put the tallest, longest guy on you we can. We're not letting you shoot the 3, get and catch and shoot clean looks. That is ultimate respect to Jordan Pope, who I think will shoot the ball really well for Texas this year. I'd like to see Tremont Mark raise up and shoot the basketball.
Yes.
I think they're adjusting to what Sean wants them to do. These guys are going to play better as the season moves along. I do think I would like to see Tremont Mark raise up. He's a career 35% three-point shooter. He's played in a lot of big games. He's made a lot of big shots in his career. I'd like to see him raise up a little bit here in the second half and shoot the basketball, get the ball to the rim, get some second chance scoring ops, because Duke's just not going to allow Jordan Pope to get looks in this game. They're going to say, not happening, dude. We got 6'7", 6'8" on the wing with long arms, and we're not going to let that happen. So I'd like to see Tremont raise up and shoot the basketball more in the second half.
Yeah, Ryan, I said areas of improvement, need to stop lazy passes. That's something that'll, they'll figure that out. I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the good and the bad and all this stuff, and look, there's bad on both sides. I mean, look, John Shire does not like 6 of 10 from the free throw line. That Texas has more free throw attempts than Duke does, right? I mean, there's Duke. He's not going to like that shooting 40% from the field with this team, with this roster. Texas is giving them some issues. So it's there's going to be a lot of stuff both these guys want to work on coming out of this game, no matter which way it goes. I think the biggest thing for Texas now is can they keep this thing within 5 or 6 points? Can they? Because this is a road game for them. But can they keep this thing within 5 or 6?
30 rebounds tonight for Texas.
Yeah.
I dig it. Sandman, you can. I don't know what good it's going to do to blame Quinn Ewers for this, but I mean, you do you. Boy, Jerry, that's about as good a look as Jordan Pope's going to get in this game. You'd like to knock that down.
Daniel, I love their ball movement, off ball movement. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be more of a continuity offense. Again, if you're not an avid basketball guy, you're just a semi-basketball guy, and you want to see what Sean Miller wants Texas to look like in the future, just go YouTube some of Mark Few's stuff at Gonzaga. Fast execution, continuity offense. That's what Sean Miller runs. It's what he started running a lot of those principles at Xavier. That's what he wants this to look like long-term at Texas. He's got to get some parts for it on the perimeter, but he will. But that's, that's what he wants it to look like. And the more guys you have that are really high-level shooters on the perimeter in future years, to more space you're going to be able to play with around that. So that it's kind of like when Texas, like last night from the women's game, Incarnate Word's a bad basketball team. Look, the drop-off in women's basketball off their top 35, 40
catastrophic, man.
Catastrophic, right? That's a bad team. So we'll see if Texas makes the women make contested shots against really good teams. But last night, what Jordan Lee and Aaliyah Crump do is if they're a threat from wing three, if you on both sides, both wings are a threat from three, that gives Madison Booker more operating space. That gives Rory Harmon or Breonna Preston more operating space. And that's why in the future for Texas basketball, Bo Ogden is, when he's on the wing, that guy's a 40% three-point shooter at the college level. He creates space for others. He creates driving angles, and he creates that space and that movement within that space for others. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that as Sean Miller builds this roster out. And they're going to shoot the ball better. I'm not even worried about that stuff. I'm not a one-game snapshot guy, and Duke's really talented and long. They're going to shoot it better. They're going to play better offensively. But I like where we're starting this thing out at. Even if Texas goes on and lose by 15, which they could. I don't know what's going to happen. I like where we're headed. Better season this year, us or Chris Beard. I mean, it better be Beard. He's in year 3 in Oxford. It better be him. Sean Miller year 1, Chris Beard year 3. It better be Beard. Ryan Nelson, Duke or UConn better? I didn't watch much of UConn yet. Question is Duke better than Arizona or Florida? I think you throw the ball up in the air and see how they progress this year. Texas 0-7 from the field in the second half. That number is misleading a little bit because you missed 3 bunnies, or you missed 3 around the rim. Got to convert some.
Jerry, Cam Heidi's another guy that is similar to Pope in this game. Where
they aren't going to let him shoot it.
Yeah, make it impossible for him to get it off the catch. I do want to see as the year goes on, can he be a guy that gets his shot off the bounce a little bit more?
The guys that Duke wants to take the threes are taking the threes right now.
Yeah. I mean, Swain's 2 for 4 from 3. Yeah. It's not.
What Duke's doing a good job is getting switches. They're getting Texas that force switches, and then where Boozer can get in the position to score the basketball off the force switch.
Yep.
And obviously Weaver was guarding him on that possess, but Duke's doing a much better job of getting Boozer in positions, forcing switches, forcing Texas to go a different route, guarding him. And he's going to, I mean, Kendall Weaver's a good athlete. He stands no chance against Boozer. I like any action where Dalen Swain gets the ball in the dribble handoff action where he can drive, where he can create a scoring up for himself or somebody else. This matchup is not going to work. Kendall Weaver cannot guard Boozer. Nope. Not going to work. Boozer's too skilled off the dribble. He'll just play right through his chest. And Weaver has to foul. But he's buying time. Sean's trying to buy time. Oh, Heidi. Well, Heidi can't hear. Weaver's the last.
Same deal.
They're not. Those two guys aren't going to be able. Texas's best option to guard Boozer is Swain, but you don't want to get Swain in foul trouble.
And then probably Nick Cody after there's a 3 by Jordan Pope. Yeah, Jerry Rogers says Tremont Mark hasn't had much of an impact in this game. Probably needs to maybe look for his shot a little bit more.
I'd like him to be a raise up and shoot the basketball a little bit more.
Don't like giving up a second chance 3 right there, but such is life.
Yeah, I think that's a freshman kid. He can really shoot the basketball for Duke. He's that stretch 4 type kid who can really shoot it. Those loose ball scrambles for threes is Duke will crush you on those, or a really good shooting team from 3 will crush you on those.
It's 14 turnovers for Texas tonight now.
That ball's got to be kicked right there. Same man as Texas being low IQ. I don't think they're a low IQ team, personally. I think Duke's a really good basketball team.
Jerry, we talked about it though last week. for our OTB, one of our OTB videos. I like the way the schedule sets up because, you get a hellacious test right out of the gate. Then you get four gimmies before you go to Maui to play Arizona State. So you got 4 games to get some stuff figured out.
Yeah, and they will. And find that offensive continuity. I know people don't like the home schedule, but you got to play teams like this. You got to be able to build your continuity, build your depth. Great play there by they called it. But you got to build that continuity. You got to have some of that easier success to see it happen. You need to have Declan DeRue have some success offensively. Jordan Pope's really playing well against the taller, longer guys now. He's getting to the step back. That's 2 step back threes. Those are going to be looks he's going to get. It's going to be a step back off the bounce against these guys. 2 big threes for Pope. I think Pope's going to have a pretty good year for Sean Miller, man. I just think what they're doing offensively is going to fit him so much more as the season moves along versus what Texas did under RT, because he's not a ball screen guy. He's not going to live with the ball in his hands off the ball screen action. That's not what he is. I think this is going to be a much better fit for him. Duke's making a concerted effort not to let Tremont Mark be able to turn the corner and drive the basketball. That was a force. Not a good shot because that turns into transition. Fouls are 18-12. Very physical game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, neither team's shooting it great. So
yeah.
We're at the under 12 media timeout now. 11:50 to go second half. Duke 49, Texas 41. Jerry, you look at that box score. I mean, for Texas, you talked about they've missed some gimmies at the rim. 13 for 43 from the field, just over 30% shooting. Duke not much terribly better. 15 for 39, about 39% shooting. So both teams under 40% from the field. Texas still +7 edge on the glass. I love 15 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. Burn in says, y'all going to Maui, right? I'm not going to Maui. That is Texas A&M week. I will not be in Maui Thanksgiving week. I think Maui will be really good for Texas, though. I think that this schedule, as you said, Jeff, is really good for the Horns here. I'm pulling up right now. Just obviously Lafayette Saturday at home, at FDU Fairleigh Dickinson on the 12th, Kansas City on the 15th, Ryder on the 18th. Ryder will be good look because Ryder played Virginia last night. Virginia plays super duper fast with Ryan Odom as the head coach there. I mean, they had a ton of possessions in that game last night. That'll be a good look for a little transitive property look. Then you go to Maui. It's Arizona State, either Washington State or Chaminade. It better be Washington State, although you never know nowadays. Boise State lost to a D2 team last night. But it's going to be good 3 games in 3 days there, and I know the coaches don't like those anymore, but I think that'll be really good for Texas in this scenario because that game's actually going to build some depth. That'll be, you're going to have some cupcake-ish games headed into Maui. In 3 games in 3 days, you're going to get to see the Declan DeRue type of player grow a little bit more on this team, right? It's going to be forced growth. And I think that's going to be really good long-term for Texas. I like the way the schedule goes. Then you come back and you play Virginia. That's going to be a fast game if Sean Miller lets it be. I'm telling you, Ryan Odom is really pushing pace. He's going to play fast at Virginia. Then you have Southern. You go to Connecticut.
Jerry, we got some breaking football recruiting news actually to talk about right now that just dropped. Dylan Berryman just posted on his Twitter account, hashtag all glory to God. I want to thank you, Texas football and Coach Sark, for giving me an opportunity. But at this moment, I will be opening back my recruitment up. Thank you, hashtag Texas Longhorn. So Dylan Berryman opening up his recruitment, Jerry.
Yeah, I've been saying that he'll stay in the class if Texas wants him to stay in the class. And I think Texas, what I was getting at when I was saying that is I think if Texas wants an over the ball player, bad foul by Matas, out 23 feet. Come on, dude. You can't do that. I think if Texas goes for an all over the ball player, it's going to be in the portal this year. I think they want some more length with their fourth defensive lineman in this class. They want a little more size length combo instead of an over the ball player. So anybody that's been on OTF or listened here, we've kind of been hinting at Berryman will stay in the class if Texas wants him in the class. And I think Dylan Berryman's a really good over the ball player. Had some knee issues this year, but not totally unexpected there.
And we talked about it too on the recruiting breakdown today too, Jerry. I mean, with Hero Canoe, the possibility he could come back, you just start looking at numbers. That may be an area where you go to the portal just for that one thing. You look at the recruiting class, you're still recruiting Kendall Graville. I know Vodney Cleveland took that visit to North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, but you're hanging on to him. With the coaching change at Auburn, you're probably going to end up hanging on to Corey Wells. So just not a ton of room left in the class.
Yeah. And look, Texas in on Kendall Graville. We'll see what happens there. They got to get these kids to campus. Richard Anderson. I won't be shocked if Texas doesn't offer another guy at defensive line that has some length. Man, this game slowed down. Whew, foul fest. Matas has got to be smarter than that, man. That was a bad foul at 22.5 feet. Bad foul by Matas that last possession.
Jordan Pope now 3 for 4 from 3.
Pope's going to have a big year, man, for Texas. I really believe that. He is one of the better shooters in the country. And I think last year at Texas, it was hard to tell because of what Texas was so ball screen dependent. But if watch this year, watch the different looks that Jordan Pope will get playing with Sean Miller. I think because if people didn't follow Jordan Pope before he got to Texas, and still he averaged double figures in the SEC, not in an offense that was really conducive to him. And he was the third or fourth leading scorer in the Pac-12. He was 17.5 points per game his sophomore year at Oregon State. I mean, that's a big number for a 6'1.5" guard that's not a explosive guy off the bounce. I mean, he can really score the basketball. He's had multiple 30-point games at Oregon State. He had the 40-pointer against the mid-major last year, but he can really score the basketball.
Yeah, a little bit, Jerry. There's some differences, but some similarities too. You look at Jordan Pope going year 1 to year 2 at Texas. It's not all that different from Marcus Carr going year 1 to year 2. The difference in year 2 was you brought in personnel with Jabari Rice and Tyrese Hunter that you could, Marcus didn't have to dominate the ball all the time. He could kind of move around on offense and get so a little bit like that, I think.
Lucina's had a couple of forces tonight on turnovers, bad shots. I mean, didn't play him and Matas didn't play in either exhibition or scrimmage game, so little rustiness there. Lucina's first game since he didn't play in any exhibitions or scrimmages. This is his first game in well over a year, by the way, guys. Well over a year. So Lucina is going to get a lot better as the season moves along. His effort's great. He'll make better decisions as the season moves along. Dalen Swain, big-time player, man.
No doubt. Texas cuts it to 3. John Shire is going to talk it over. Duke with a 51-48 lead, 9:26 to go in the half. Texas on a 7-0 run right now, made their last 3 field goals.
Yeah, I mean, look, the more Dalen Swain gets the ball in the wing and gets a ball screen and can turn that thing towards the middle or lane extended, this is Texas' best offense. Now, he either gets a score there or maybe he creates for somebody else. Maybe he draws a rotation. But he's the one player that can rise up over the Duke length inside 15 feet. And he's also the guy that around that length can see the court and make the pass. When the ball's in his hands, if this game is tight down the stretch, I'll be surprised at the ball in his hands most possessions, if they can get it to him in a position where he can play on the move. Daniel Ornato says Swain can do it all with proper spacing. I think one of the biggest things that I'm watching with Texas basketball this season is, can they get him back one more year? Or does he elevate himself to where he just needs to go pro? I don't know if he can elevate himself to a first-round pick, but he's a damn good basketball player. I'm not sure he's going to shoot it on that level the way the NBA game is, but he is such a good player. I think he will make an NBA team, and I think he'll have an NBA career without being a high-level shooter. But can Texas get him back a second year? If they can get Dalen Swain back a second year, Texas has a chance to be really good next year when they piece this thing together, when they build this roster a little bit different way.
So Duke's in the double bonus now. Lucina just picked up his third.
Vernon said more money NIL versus European League. Yeah, I mean, look, that's why a lot of the international kids are coming over. Is there's, depending on their level, there's more money in college basketball right now, for sure.
So while we're doing this, I've got no TV volume. Are they reviewing this to see if it's a flagrant?
I don't have volume either.
You got a hand in his face. I don't.
Abel 13 at 318 asks, is Euro basketball going to take over the NCAA same way Australian and punting? I don't think it's going to do that. I don't think it's going to do that at all. Because I do think some of these international guys coming over are going to struggle too. So it'll be interesting how it plays out over time. I think a lot of the international players want to come over, but I don't think all these guys are going to have the success they think they are or their agents think they are. So what's going to happen with that over time, I think, is something to watch in college hoops. And it's also at some point, I know they're taking some eligibility years away. If you've played real pro ball over there 2 or 3 years, you may only get 2 years of college. Are there going to be any changes to that? Where are things going to go with all this? Hell, the G League's the one who may take over college basketball.
So it's a flagrant one on Traore. Not ideal.
Now, you're one area where Texas will get better. And again, these first games at Texas, first game for Traore in many months, well over a year. First game for Matas at Texas. Both those guys didn't play either at a scrimmage game. They've combined for 9 turnovers in this game. Yeah. So while Texas as a team has 15 turnovers. 9 of those have come from the center position. Now, 2 of those are off. 2 of those are offensive fouls, right? But 9 turnovers from the center position. That will get cleaned up.
Duke has rebounded the ball much better in the second half too.
Yeah, for sure. And look, this game's a Duke home game. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying they're getting all the calls, but Texas is trying to play a very physical game. Duke's is playing a physical game. Betters, guys, what's the home court worth in the games like this? It is what it is.
Duke has almost as many free throw attempts as Texas has field goal attempts in this half. So it is what it is. But, Jerry, to your point, you've mentioned it a couple times. I think it's worth repeating. You can't take a one-game snapshot and just assume this is what this team's going to be. Look, I can't imagine there's going to be very many games this year where you get to the under 8 timeout and Tremont Mark's taking 2 shots.
Yeah, for sure. And look, they have Dame Sarr on him. They have a 6'7.5" long arm guy on Tremont Mark. And Tremont Mark is playing as a team runner in this game. It'll be interesting to see. It's good action by Duke. It'll be interesting to see as the season moves along what wrinkles Sean Miller adds if they put length on Tremont Mark. Now, not many teams, again, I'm just going to keep repeating this because it's just a fact. Not many teams have the length Duke has to where they can put a 6'8" wing with long arms who's athletic enough to guard a combo guard or a lead guard, and then have their 6'5" and 6 guards playing off the ball. There's a reason why Duke is Duke, right? I mean, they're as talented as it gets. So it's not like you're going to play a lot of teams like that. But if you play a couple of other teams who can somewhat replicate what Duke has done, what is Sean Miller's counter is going to be to that as the season moves along? That's kind of the things I look for from game 1 to game 11 and then on the game 15 and game 20.
I'll tell you what, Jerry, you saw him in person. I did not, but, man, Cameron Boozer is insanely skilled for a big kid.
Oh, he's tremendous. He's a lottery pick, top 3 pick in the NBA draft. Will probably be an NBA all-star level player. He's just really, really good. He's really, really good. There is no – it's crazy. He's still 1 for 9 in this game. He's 0 for 4 from 3. But he is a really talented player. That guy will average – like we'll look back on this game, that guy will average a double-double in college basketball. He won't shoot over from 3. He will make more contested shots. He's a really good player.
Jerry Roger asked a good question. What teams in the SEC have Duke-like length?
Nobody on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Nobody on the perimeter. Florida has that length from 3, 4, 5. But Florida's guards aren't that big. Boogie Flan, 6'2.5". Xavier Lee, 6'3". The guard they bring off the bench is 6'3". So even they don't. Alabama doesn't have that length at guard. Nobody really has that perimeter. That's what I was getting at earlier. Like, one thing John Shire's changed from when Coach K was the coach, and I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just I think it's the involvement of how basketball's evolving is he doesn't really recruit smaller guards anymore. He's recruiting as many tall, long-armed guys as he can, and you can do that at Duke. I don't see a team in college basketball that is going to start that type of length on the perimeter. And that doesn't mean they're going to win at all. I'm not saying that, but just to answer the question, I'm not sure 6'5", 6'6", 6'7.5". Those 3 starters with that type of length on the perimeter will exist. Maybe you can find one other team, but are they actually going to be as good of players as Duke has? Probably not. St. John's has some length to them. I'm not sure it's that level. See if Texas can keep this within. It's a terrible pass. Texas will cut down on the unforced turnovers as the season moves along.
Yeah, this thing was in the process of flipping to Duke when Lucina got called for the flagrant one, and then they got 4 free throws right there on those 2 deals. So that's a pretty tough defensive play by Nick Cody against Boozer.
So TAC 1 says I'm wrong. Xavier Lee's going to destroy Duke. I don't think he's going to destroy Duke. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's going to destroy Duke. If Boogie Flan doesn't make perimeter shots, operating space is going to get tough for him. And I think Todd Golden's a great coach. He's not destroying Duke.
You mentioned it earlier, Jerry. That's a really good idea of Matas's feet right there.
Yeah, he's got really good feet. He's got really good hands. I can't wait to see what he looks like in year 3 of college basketball, second year at Texas. I think he's going to be a problem. He's just got to learn to play without fouling. He's got to be able to stay on the court to where his skills can actually be a consistent thing on the offensive end. If he's always playing in foul trouble, he's always a play away from going to the bench. He's got to make better decisions, but I really like where he's going to go as a player.
Yeah.
What's up, Oterade? If that's how I say your name. Royal Blue Coots, haven't seen the Purdue kid do anything. Yeah, he is. There will be games that are better matchups for him where he's going to get more perimeter looks. Again, Duke is, if you can't put the ball on the deck off the dribble against the length or create space off the dribble, you're not going to get many clean looks. Cam Heide, there will be games where he makes perimeter shots this year for Texas. Real Blue Cougs, is Heide a shooter? Yeah, he's a good shooter. He'll be a 38, 39% three-point shooter. But it's going to be more catch and shoot. It's not going to be off the dribble. That's going to be a turnover. That's all that Duke length we're talking about right there. When you're that long, you get more hands on basketballs. You can create more deflections. That's the way their team was built. Roger G, thoughts on DeBanster from BYU? Will he be the number 1 pick? Boy, Darren Peterson's freaking good at Kansas. I watched Darren Peterson at a USA basketball in Houston. It was Trey Johnson's junior year, so Peterson was a sophomore. It was USA basketball tryout, and it was at Houston around the Final Four. I thought Darren Peterson was the best player I saw. Like, he is legit good. So I think one of those 2 guys will go number 1 in the draft. I think it may boil down to who's the number 1 pick and what's your need. Darren Peterson's freaking good at Kansas.
Well,
see if Texas can stay in contact here in the next 2.5 minutes of this game.
Well, Texas in the bonus now, so that's good. There's some tough shots right at the rim that just have not fallen for this team tonight, man.
Yeah, the first three in the second half were the ones you want to have back. The lob ball that Matas was a really good action coming out of the half. Had a couple other ones that are more point blank. Not that Duke doesn't have length, that you'd like to get a couple of those three down early in the second half.
So Duke's starting to pull away. 6-0 run by Duke right now, up 14 with about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's Duke's a better basketball team than Texas. I love what I'm seeing from Texas. I love where they're going to go as a team. And I love where they're going to go as a program. But Duke's a better basketball team than Texas. And there's a reason they were favored by 10.5 points. And, you can't have – one thing you can't have in a game like this where Texas will have to get cleaned up is the unforced turnovers. Duke's length is going to force some turnovers. You can't compound that with unforced turnovers. You can't give away possessions. I know Nick Cody was 0 for 2, but you got to raise up and shoot the basketball. Now you're in a late shot clock situation. It's going to be a total force, but good post play. Good pass by Wilcher. Tennessee Longhorn, do we go 500 in SEC play? Way too early for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're one game into the season, and only about 3 teams have played anybody good yet. I mean, you look at Arizona, Florida game last night, Villanova, BYU, Texas, Duke. I mean, you're 3 real games into this college season. I need to see a lot more, see what teams look like. I mean, Alabama plays against the mid-major. They're going to whack those guys. I think you just got to see some of these. Got to see some of these teams against good competition, 1, and see where maybe some of these guys' ceilings are at, 2, who's going to stay healthy, 3. I mean, there's so many things that are going to play into it. Do I think Texas can be a 500 team in conference? I do. Does that mean they are? Do I see it today? I can't. I haven't seen enough of any of these teams. I do know that Duke is really good, and I know Florida's really good, and I know Arizona's really good. That's what I know so far. I don't think BYU is as good as their ranking. And I say that because I watched some replay of their exhibition loss in Nebraska, then watching a little bit against Villanova last night. I think that guy's a tremendous young offensive coach. I don't see them right now. We'll see where they go, but they're not the level of Duke, Arizona, or Florida out of the gate.
Jerry, the thing I would compare this to, it's kind of like, Chris Beard's first year at Texas when they went up to Gonzaga and played that Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme team when Drew Timme seemed like he went for 40 and 20 that night.
Yeah.
It was still a team very much coming together against a legitimate national title contender. But you could see, like, kind of like tonight, stuff that is going to get better over time.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Plenty of flashes, and then stuff where you'll put a pin in it and see if it's a concern down the road.
Like that. I mean, we've missed too many shots here in the second half that you got to get down in this game. I mean, if you convert 3 of those in the second half, we're talking about a much different game. They've missed, and Duke has length, right? I mean, they have length. Anybody that's played like high level hoops knows that length matters, but you still got to get a couple of those down to keep the game within touch.
Probably not going to be many nights this year where you shoot.
If not, then a team that can put a run on you.
Boy, there wasn't much more Simeon Wilcher could do right there. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, Royal Blue Cougs. BYU will be a good team, I think, in time. I think right now, though, I like if you put them up against Florida or Arizona last night, they don't win the game. I mean, Villanova's okay, but Duke would beat them right now. But yeah, they got to be a make shot team.
All right, so we're at the last media timeout, 3:43 to go. Duke up 68-54. Jerry, we're winding it down here, but again, you're going to have more nights this year, more often than not, where you shoot better than 33%. But overall, I mean, and this isn't me putting spin on it. This is a really damn tough opponent in an opener for a brand new team. There's a lot of stuff. Obviously, some stuff Sean Miller's not going to be happy with. There's a lot of stuff he's going to come out of here liking.
Yeah, for sure. I like a lot of what I've seen tonight. I see high level basketball being coached. Now they've got to get better and pull it together as a team. Texas will make more shots. They're going to have better nights offensively. One of the big takeaways, I guarantee from some Texas fans, Texas can't shoot. They're a bad offensive team. They're not good on offense. I would kind of hold off on that. Duke really has great length on their team. Duke has the best length Texas will see. There will be guys that make shots in future games where this Duke length isn't right there in front of their face. So I don't subscribe to that at all. In fact, but Texas as a team has got to shoot. When you look back on it after a 10-game snapshot or halfway through conference, Texas is going to need to be at 35% from three to be able to maximize what this team can do. So whether that's Duke's playing not to let Tremont mark. Jordan Pope's made some tough contested shots. They did not want Jordan Pope. They weren't going to let Cam Heide. Cam Heide defensively had some tough matchups tonight. They weren't going to let those guys just raise up and shoot the ball. It was going to be tough step backs. It was going to be contested shots. Everybody can't pull that off. Texas will have better nights offensively. The biggest thing I see, I'm not even really worried about that stuff, but they got to hit 35% of the team to maximize this ceiling of this team. What I want, it's the unforced turnovers. Duke's going to cause some turnovers. They're a good team. I mean, you're not going to play perfect basketball, but it's the unforced turnovers. It's the Matas over physical 2 charges, giving away possessions. Those are the things that I look for as the season moves along for this Texas team, because they're going to rebound. They're going to guard the ball well. They're going to get second chance scoring opportunities. I think they're going to get to the free throw line quite a bit. You're not going to be playing on the road against Duke and Charlotte, right? I mean, there's not many games like that. But there's a lot of things they can get better. The number one thing for me is the unforced turnovers. As they get more continuity offensively, Matas playing without fouling as much, I think, is a big key for me, so he can be an offensive threat.
I was going to say, Jerry, foul rate for your front court pair. Like Nick Cody's got 4 fouls, and you'd like to at this point have one of Matas or Cody on the floor, I would think.
Yeah. Tom G, what is 23 good at? He's got 9 rebounds against Duke in limited minutes. Look at Lucina and Matas didn't play either scrimmage. So I would give those guys a chance. Lucina hasn't played a game in 18 months, probably coming off the ACL. So I'd give those guys a little bit of time.
Yeah, Jerry,
they're playing against a lottery pick and Boozer too.
I don't think he would have even. I mean, he got hurt maybe the first or second day of practice last year. Yeah, so he didn't even play in any of Xavier's.
No, he got hurt, I think, in the second day of practice. Yeah.
Yeah, Duke's starting to run away with it a little bit here at the end.
Well, yeah, they're in a double bonus. It's like double bonus for minutes and minutes and minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody mentions 5 assists. I mean, that's another, anytime you look up, you've got 5 assists to 18 field goals. It's not an ideal ratio. Second half free throw numbers or something.
Yeah. Yeah, they go from 10 to 28 in a hurry.
Yeah, this half at the foul line, Duke 16 for 20, Texas 2 for 5.
Daniel, who's the best college basketball team you ever watched? Man. I mean, you said Duke 01. That was really good. Duke 01 was really good.
I think Coach K's best team was the 92 team.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I had to give it that, I mean, Rick Pitino's 96 Kentucky team was really freaking good.
Yeah. Tom G, totally embarrassing. We look toward. If I were you, I probably wouldn't watch basketball. Being honest, dude. I mean, people are expecting perfection in game one out here against one of the best teams in the country. I don't know what to tell you, man. It doesn't work that way in real life.
Jerry, I think Sark After Dark has the answer. Willow Ridge High School. That team could play.
Yeah. Yeah. Willow Ridge High School is the best high school team I've ever I've seen in Texas. In Texas. Nowadays, high school basketball is it's so different because it's all about the National Prep League teams and the transfer in teams. Nothing's really the same in high school basketball anymore.
I didn't watch that team, Jerry, but I mean the Texas high school teams, as far as a team, that Chris Bosh Dallas Lincoln team that won the mythical national title was really good. But you and I were sitting next to each other. The best high school game I think I've ever seen was that Yates Kimball state championship where Keith Frazier and Damian Dotson were going back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Ornato, who was on Willow Ridge, that Willow Ridge team was TJ Ford, McDonald's All-American. Daniel Ewing, McDonald's All-American, went to Duke, was a second-round draft pick. Kenny Taylor obviously started at Baylor, then ended up at Texas as a high-level shooter. Then they had a couple other low major D1 players, that a couple of other JUCO guys that didn't have grades.
Ivan McFarland.
Yeah, well, he was before. He was before. That was when TJ and them were younger. The last 2 years, I mean, they had that TJ's junior, senior year, they probably had 7 D1 level players. They didn't all go D1 because of academics, but they had 7 D1 level players in public school basketball in Houston. They were – and 2 McDonald's All-Americans in the backcourt. They were really good. William Allen, Stanley Bonowitz, that East Central team was really, really good. They could really score. They played with great pace. I think they scored over 100 in semifinal against Dallas Carter. I don't know if they did in the finals too, but great offensive high school basketball team. They played at a unbelievable pace back in the day when not a lot of other teams did.
Yeah, Duke's just gonna run this thing out at the foul line. It looks like it's not a bad job by Modest right there, like going against Boozer. Tack one, yeah. Some of the best hoops were, those late 90s, early 2000s. That's my wheelhouse right there. I'll tell you what, Jerry. One of the cooler high school games I remember seeing, it was a regional final at Baylor. It was AJ Abrams' senior year at McNeil, and they lost to Dallas Carter. AJ had like 35, 37. But Carter got, I want to say it was like a 16 and 12 from Michael Crabtree.
Yeah. Yes, Tack one. The high school teams are insane. It's like I don't really like high school basketball anymore because of what it's become. honestly, and I know it's what it is, but I can't really get into, hey, I want to watch the National Prep School League on ESPN when 8 kids are from 8 different states. That just doesn't really do it for me. And they have some great players, but it is what it is. But it just doesn't. I can just go watch AAU basketball if I want to do that.
Yeah, for me too, Jerry, is when the state tournament left the Irwin Center too.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
But they have some amazing talented teams. I mean, Montverde had a team with 5 first-round draft picks on it.
Yeah.
So it's like they have some amazingly talented. They have some great coaches. Like Kevin Boyle's a tremendous coach at Montverde. And I know some people say, well, he's coaching Montverde. Yeah, but that guy's a really good basketball coach too. Those teams played with discipline and were hard-nosed despite all that talent. Chad Stoker, Tremont Mark got to get settled and be a scorer. He's definitely got to score the basketball. He can't.
Yeah.
And of course, look, I'm a broken record. Duke has extreme length, and there was part of their game plan was right out there in front for everybody. And then Mark will have better offensive games, but I do think off of this it'll be interesting. And I don't think maybe one other team will have this length on the perimeter, but what kind of counters Sean Miller will build into it. Early in the season, you want these guys to run the offense, right? And what kind of counters will he build into it for Tremont Mark when needed as the season moves along? I think Mark had some opportunities early in this game to just raise up and take a 22-footer, and I want to see him just raise up and take a 22-footer. He's going to have to do that. Yeah, John P. Markle only took 2 shots in 24 minutes. Absolutely part of Duke's plan for sure. They've had Dame Sarr on that 6'7.5" guy on him. They change guys, they change different lengthy players guarding him. They were playing to not let Mark score the basketball, and they wanted to force Texas to have Kendall Weaver take late shot clock shots. They wanted to leave certain guys open from 3, not let it be Jordan Pope when Heidi's in the game, not let him get a clean look, not let Tremont Mark. They played it the right way.
Jerry's, we'll wind it down here. I want to thank our Tuesday night sponsors, MyPerfectFranchise.net and Andy Ludicky, Mark Saunders, Allstate, Culligan, Duck Camp. I want to thank everybody for sponsoring. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We started with the college football playoff first rankings getting unveiled. Took you through Texas Duke. It's final now. Duke with a 75-60 win over Texas. Jerry, I know you'll have plenty more on this on Coffee and Football in the morning, but just real quick before we sign off, your final thoughts here on the first game of the Sean Miller era.
Yeah, I think Sean Miller's going to win at Texas. I think he's going to do very well at Texas. I think he'll build really good rosters at Texas. This team will improve a lot over the course of the season because he's a real basketball coach. They got to cut down on the unforced errors for me. That's the biggest thing. I don't look at this game the way some people do because I respect what Duke has as far as length and size. They're a different team than what you play for. There's a reason they get all the best players, right? And whoever the pick of the litter, and they've built an extreme length team at the guard position. There's not many teams that are going to be like this. There may be some teams that are quicker, but Texas will have better nights offensively. They'll grow. They'll get better. Matas and Lucina will get better. They missed both of the scrimmages and a lot of practice time. This Texas team will get better. My biggest thing is not 3-point shooting. It's not this. It's not that. It's unforced turnovers because Duke creates turnovers, but it's the unforced turnovers. It's the Matas being over aggressive. It's those sort of things. You can't lose possessions in a high level game like this when you know it's going to be tough. You're not going to go shoot 48% from the field in these games. You can't give away possessions, and that's where games get away from you.
Yeah, that was going to be my Jerry, foul rate, especially foul rate up front. That's
Yep.
something to work on.
Yep.
I'll get an up close look at this team on Saturday. It'll be against Lafayette. It won't be against Duke, so it'll be something much different. But Jerry, this was fun. We'll do this for the big games throughout the year, and a lot to build on. Look, it's a loss, disappointing, but yeah, I mean, Paul mentions it here, disappointing finish after teasing us in the first half. But lots for Sean Miller to use to work with and practice after this one. Again, now you got four games where you can get some stuff figured out before you go to Maui and play some more power conference competition. Jerry, thanks for hanging out and doing this. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Also, thanks to CJ and Amanda who were here. It seems like a day and a half ago, but they were with us when the stream started. And thanks to everybody for your super chats, your participation in the chat. Again, you got anything else? Get it to the guys at Coffee and Football in the morning. For Jerry, for Matthew, for CJ, for Amanda, for the entire On Texas football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening and hanging out with us for Texas and Duke. And until next time, hook 'em.